वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and all our dear attendees. A warm welcome to all of you to the virtual presentation of the Women of Vision Summit and Awards, presented by Lubrizol CPVC, organized by Realty Plus Masterclass in association with FlowGuard Plus and Blaze Master. Well, my name is Kavya R. Chavali, and I welcome all of you to this dazzling afternoon of interesting conversations and a sparkling evening of felicitations of our women achievers. Now, before we start, let me actually inform you all that this event is being live streamed on Realty Plus website, www.rprealtyplus.com, on Realty Plus LinkedIn page, and on Realty Plus Facebook page @RP Realty Plus. So with that, I do believe it's an afternoon and an evening that's all about celebrating some amazing women, some amazing contributions, and it's time to learn from these beautiful leaders. And while we do so, let's start it on an auspicious note with the Ganesh Mantra.
वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा.
Well, on that positive and on that beautiful note, it's time to give a head start to the program. And let me now please invite Ms. Sapna Srivastava, editor of Realty Plus, to introduce us to today's event.
Thanks, Kavya. As you rightly said, today we are all gathered here to celebrate women achievements, especially in the field of building materials, design, and construction in India. As we all know, the theme for the upcoming International Women's Day on March 08 this year is Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. What it aims to recognize is the contribution of women and girls around the world who are leading the change on climate change, adaptation, mitigation, and response to build a more sustainable future for all. Therefore, our summit today will have leaders of the Indian construction industry talking about the new meaning of sustainability and reimagining of the built spaces. So let's celebrate the collective vision of men and women that has the power to build the nation and the world. On that note, I would also like to give you a brief introduction of Realty Plus that has been part of this industry for more than 17 years now, and our constant endeavor has been to create meaningful dialogues across the industry, communities, and the people. So let's take a look.
Some people are born to show the world which path to choose in a crisis. Some brands are born to do the same. And during the times of challenge, the stalwarts of Indian real estate industry have chosen to do just that by showing others the way to finding opportunities even amidst a crisis. By showing the world how to go about delivering on promises even amidst adversity. Success doesn't just happen, it happens by design, by pushing the boundaries, by raising the bar. It's days of creating a vision and nights of bringing it to life, knowing that pictures are worth 1,000 words and every word makes a difference. It's doing the research, trusting your instinct, and finishing what you started. For the past 17 years, Realty Plus has been turning obstacles into opportunities, keeping the industry informed on the latest developments. Innovating to inspire debate and discussion. Bringing forth the perspectives of industry leaders. honoring hard work and achievement. Keeping the industry connected. This is what we are built on. This is what we are building. We are Realty Plus, and we lead the way.
So this was a brief snippet of what Realty Plus does and what are our latest initiatives. To know us better, do get in touch with Ms. Tripti Kedia, publisher and business head, Realty Plus. And now let me hand it back to our lovely host, Kavya, to take forward the proceedings of the day. Kavya, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sapna, for setting the tone. And I'm sure we're all eagerly looking forward to this wonderful program as well. But before we do so, before we actually march ahead and move towards our main segment, let me share a few words as well. And let me also express my sincere appreciation to the presenter of this event, the Lubrizol Corporation, the world leader in CPVC resins and compounds with proven performance since 1959. The polymer technologies are designed to solve today's toughest building and production challenges, and it is an innovator and world leader in chlorinated polyvinyl chloride resins and compounds. Lubrizol is committed to enabling a sustainable future. Its unmatched science unlocks immense possibilities at the molecular level, driving sustainable and measurable results. Its core mission is to help the world move cleaner, create smarter, and live better. To know more, let's actually take a look at the Lubrizol corporate video. Here we go.
As businesses, governments, and societies across the globe are depending on and demanding that corporations make a meaningful and lasting impact on the world, Lubrizol has both a great opportunity and a great responsibility. For very few companies have the experience, expertise, and existing business to impact as much far-reaching positive change as Lubrizol. With our technology in more than half the vehicles on Earth and touching the everyday lives of at least half the world's population through a variety of solutions in a wide array of products, our impact today is already tremendous. Tomorrow, it will be even greater. With deep roots and proud heritage as a pioneer in transportation, Lubrizol has evolved and expanded into a range of other industries by being a pioneer in transformation. This unique ability to help companies and technologies transform is becoming more essential every day. So as we approach the centennial of Lubrizol's founding, we are proudly and definitively renewing our commitment to unlocking science that transforms. This is more than our mission. It's a global imperative. The world is depending on Lubrizol to move cleaner, create smarter, and live better.
Well, as we talk about impact, that was indeed impactful and quite informative. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let me also inform once again that this event is being live streamed on Realty Plus website, www.rprealtyplus.com, and the Realty Plus Facebook page @RP Realty Plus, along with the Realty Plus LinkedIn page. So do remember to tag us on our social media handles, which is @RP Realty Plus on Facebook and Twitter, and RP_Realty Realty on Instagram. We also actually invite you all to share your inspiring moment from today's event using the hashtag Lubrizol WOV 2022. So let me repeat that one more time for all of you. What we want you all to do is also participate. I know we're all catching up virtually with each other. It's an e-meet, but let's make it very, very inspiring. When all you got to do is share your inspiring moment from today's event. And please don't forget to use the hashtag Lubrizol WOV 2022. And please tag us at the rate FlowGuard Plus on Facebook and Instagram and Lubrizol CPBC on LinkedIn. Now, guess what? The 3 lucky winners will actually get some exciting brand hampers from Lubrizol. So go ahead, spread the word, and share that inspiring moment. With that, now it's time for me to welcome Mr. Binay Agrawal, Business Head, Temp Right, South Asia, to present the welcome address of the day. Now, he's someone who comes with more than 13 years of work experience in strategy, business development, and sales. And he, in fact, spent 6 years in Tata Group as strategy manager and has been with Lubrizol for nearly 5 years. He loves to interact with people and is inspired by success stories of people with a diverse background. He completed his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, India's premier management school, in 2010, and his mechanical engineering from NIT in 2006. So on that note, let me hand over the screen to none other than Mr. Binay Agrawal. I think that's where our life has been for the last 2 years, with mute and unmute. And while I was waiting for Binay also to join in on the main screen, I believe the reason sometimes that, we really need God's blessings is to ensure that our bandwidth is also in place, because there's so much of conversation, so much for us to ensure that we can discuss with each other, share with each other. But at times, maybe bandwidth has other plans. I believe that I've just been informed that there's been certain issue there. So let me just continue on. Let me move on as well. But it would be wonderful to gather Binay's insights as well, considering the kind of expertise and experience that he brings with him. And it will also be the very first thing for the conclave, wherein we are catching up on. So meanwhile, what we'll do is we'll actually check if Binay is joining us back. If not, then let's probably move forward to the next segment. I believe he's logging in again. I can see Binay has joined us in. Binay, we're going to request you to also keep your audio and video on. Wonderful indeed, Mr. Agrawal. Looks like he's joined us, so I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Agrawal. Binay, over to you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity. Today is a special day. Women leaders are changing the world as we see it today. Just to share with you, in 2022, women entrepreneurs are leading more than 20% of successful startups, or what we call unicorns, in India. Nykaa and Mama Earth are few examples. One will find many women entrepreneurs in every city and villages of India. For example, Misho, a social commerce company, has almost 9 million women entrepreneurs on its platform. And I'm proud to say that my mother is one of them. Similarly, India has given many women leaders to the world, be it Geeta Gopinath, who is the Deputy Managing Director at IMF, or Leena Nair, who is the new CEO of Chanel. The upbringing, education these women leaders received in India has given them the confidence to be successful in large global organizations. We also have many success stories from the construction industry. There are many who are joining us today. I would like to share 2 examples. Ms. Garvita Gulati, who is the co-founder and CEO of Y Waste, and Ms. Rinki Mahato, who recently won the gold medal in All India Plumbing Competition North. She is the first woman to do so. And she comes from my state of Odisha. So I'm very proud of that. and they both are inspiration for all of us. When women succeed, they bring about a change in the very culture of an organization. The successful stories of many Indian leaders clearly illustrates this. And with the Women of Vision Awards that Lubrizol initiated last year, our aim is to trigger this change by giving a platform for women to succeed in construction industry in India. Lubrizol strongly believes that diversity and inclusion are key enablers of success. We believe that if we provide the right platform to all women plumbers and influencers in India, they will be successful. And we have taken a step towards that direction. There are many women plumbers and influencers are joining us on Lubrizol's Flowguard Plus mobile platform, where they are learning new plumbing technologies and are being successful in their career. We wish to provide the plumbing community in India, be it male or female, an equal opportunity to succeed. I am proud of the progress being made in women empowerment in India. Why I am quite confident that in a decade's time, we'll see many women leaders will lead the building industry in India and drive success of Indian economy and organizations. We are extremely excited to kick off the second year of this event with the dynamic set of women influencers and achievers on board. We are hopeful that this will encourage more women in leadership position in building material industry. So thank you again, and let's kickstart this exciting session today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Binay. It's absolutely endearing to hear the positive sentiments about the industry and the fact that you're so inspired by the women around you, the kind of achievements that they've sort of had, including your mother. So it was really endearing to hear that. Thank you very much, Binay, for setting the tone.
Thank you.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's also take that positive sentiment forward. And as we move ahead, let me actually ensure that we begin on that wonderful note. I do believe I can feel that we're all excited to be inspired this afternoon. And with that, as we begin the e-conclave, it's time to also get started with the very first session of the day. So while we get our speakers on the screen, let me also share a small brief about our brand, the video that's coming up. A quick brand video that's about to come up on the screen for you in a short while. But before that, few words about it. Now, a pioneer in CPVC plumbing systems since 1960, Lubrizol and Flowguard Plus CPVC facilitate reliable access to clean drinking water to millions of homes and offices. And till date, has been instrumental in delivering safer water to over 200 million citizens in South Asia, and making Flowguard Plus world's #1 CPVC plumbing system. So let's actually take a look at the Flowguard Plus video. Here we go.
Lubrizol, the inventor and global producer of Flowguard Plus CPVC. Billions of feet of Flowguard CPVC piping systems have been installed across the globe. In the year 1999, Lubrizol introduced its Flowguard Plus technology and further established a niche market in India for CPVC plumbing solutions. Post its inception in 1928, Lubrizol owns and operates more than 100 manufacturing facilities and offices around the world. Over the years, Lubrizol's team of experts have dedicated themselves to creating an array of CPVC solutions for providing better water management systems to their consumers. This has led to significant increase in demand. To meet the flourishing CPVC piping demand, Lubrizol has invested nearly $50 million in setting up the CPVC compound plant in Dahej, Gujarat between 2014 to 2016. With such a magnanimous existing infrastructure, Lubrizol has been a leading provider of CPVC for the past 2 decades in the India market. In South Asia alone, Lubrizol has delivered safe water solutions to over 200 million citizens through its plumbing solutions. Fueled by the desire to support Make in India initiative to make India self-reliant, Lubrizol Advanced Materials and Grasim Industries Limited have entered into a definitive agreement. The two globally renowned business giants, Lubrizol Corporation's Lubrizol Advanced Materials and Grasim Industries Limited, a flagship of the Aditya Birla Group, have partnered to set up the world's largest CPVC resin manufacturing plant in India. In alignment with its mission to help the world move cleaner, create smarter, and live better, Lubrizol aims to provide reliable access to clean and safe drinking water to millions of homes in India. Lubrizol's commitment to help the world to move cleaner, create smarter, and live better will enable the masses at large to look forward to a cleaner, healthier, better life and improved water management.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's move forward to the very first panel discussion. And the topic that we're talking about, it couldn't have been more appropriate than any other day, as you know, the special day that is today, because we're talking about a very pertinent topic around sustainability at crossroads. And the big question, what's next? Now, to conduct this session, we have with us our expert moderator, Apoor Vij, Director, Technical Development, GBCI, and he's been working in the field of green buildings for over 14 years, and he's leading GBCI's Better Materials Initiative, which aims to further accelerate the global adoption of better building materials. While I do believe that our session moderator has already joined us, let me also introduce our eminent speakers in the alphabetical order. We also have the presence of Akhil Ganatra, Managing Director, Clancy Global, and he comes with over 17 years of experience, having established the practice as a first generation built environment consultancy and second generation in construction. Under his leadership, Clancy Global has consulted 300 million square feet, over 700 projects in 85 cities across 5 countries. We're also joined by Gurmeet Singh Arora, National Chairman of CII, Indian Green Building Council, and National President, Indian Plumbing Association. And he comes with a prolific experience for more than 28 or close to 3 decades, if I may say. He's also founding trustee and secretary of the Indian Institute of Plumbing, and is also the founding member and senior fellow of Indian Green Building Council. Our next speaker joining us, and we also have with us Jaya Dindar, Program Director, Integrated Urban Development, Planning and Resilience with WRI India, and she comes with over 16 years of global experience in a diverse set of roles within the domain of sustainable urban planning, and she also leads the practices work on advancing goals for sustainable development. Our next speaker joining us right here in the first panel discussion, we also have Namrata Mehra, Head of Design and Customer Centricity, Vikhroli, Lead Sustainability, Godrej Properties. Now, she works at the intersection of marketing, brand, design, customer centricity, and sustainability to deliver tangible value and meaningful delight for our customers across the real estate life cycle. Now, she was responsible for leading the GPL Design Studio from 2015 through 2019 before pivoting to leading CSR and sustainability for Godrej Properties. Our next speaker is Nihar Chedda, Vice President Strategy, Prince Pipes and Fittings Limited. Now, he's been actively involved in growing business since the company's IPO, engaging with the key stakeholders. And he works closely with the team, focusing on expanding the pan-India distribution network to build a base of quality distributors with strong relationships with the company. And that leaves me with our final speaker, a prolific person herself. We have with us none other than Suhasini Iyer, Principal Architect and Founder, Auroville Design Consultancy. Her studio is dedicated to applied research in the field of solar passive architecture, sustainable urban development and building technologies, water and waste management, and renewable energy. She's also the co-founder of Auroville Center for Scientific Research for Applied Research in Sustainable Development in the field of settlement planning and appropriate building materials and technology. So it looks like we have a power-packed panel lined up for all of you, ladies and gentlemen, and it's only befitting that I hand over the proceedings to our session moderator, Apoor Vij, to take it over from here. Apoor, over to you.
Thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session on sustainability at crossroads. What's next? So over the last about 2 years, we have, of course, very closely seen significant changes in the way we live. And of course, that has impacted all of our lives. It has definitely impacted the building sector, the construction sector itself. The impact of the pandemic, of course, we are still kind of trying to figure out. what are the long-term impacts, what were the there were some short-term impacts, but there are definite long-term impacts. And then, of course, in light of targets set at COP26 late last year, and the new IPCC report that just got released a few days ago, there is a growing need, or there's almost a necessity to look towards buildings, to look towards cities, communities, the overall construction sector, and push them towards low carbon and hopefully net zero carbon as soon as possible, so that we are able to meet those targets of keeping global warming below the 1.5 degrees Celsius target. Now, on top of that, there's also a growing concern that there might be some effects of climate change that would be present for us in the coming decades. We won't be fully left without them. And they would create some sort of shocks. There would be disruptions that would happen. Pandemic is one such shock that we have seen, but of course, increased heat waves, flooding events, increase in ambient air temperatures, and the usual ones like earthquakes and all those kinds of shocks and disruptions are anticipated. So there is growing conversation on how do we make our cities, how do we make our buildings more resilient so that the impact on people, on their lives is reduced, and as much as possible we can continue as smoothly as is possible in these circumstances. So today we do have this panel of experts that was just introduced from a broad spectrum of disciplines who are here to kind of talk about this. And that's what we're going to talk about, like where do we see this entire space go based on our recent experiences and the projections that are coming out globally as well as from India. So in that regard, let me start with Mr. Gurmeet, if I may. Over the last 2 years, of course, the pandemic has created changes in the way we live and we work. Now there are expectations that buildings should not just be green, but people are also looking at the health aspects of it. They want to stay healthier within them. So how has the green building space evolved in your experience over the last 2 years to address these changes and these trends?
Well, Apurva, thank you so much. I come from the city of Mumbai. And if you looked at the time when the pandemic made us sit home for about 70, 71 days, we had dolphins sighted off the coast of Marine Drive, which we normally go to Goa to see. We had peacocks dancing in a building compound in Kemp's Corner. We had a tiger coming in the Hirnandani estate in Thana. Now, birds, animals, aqua life, marine life, flora, fauna are choking to death. And unless we do not do something together, we are going to get into big catastrophic climatic conditions, as you have said. The green building movement started in 2001 in India. And it has been a long journey where we at IGBC, Indian Green Building Council, are now at 800 crore square feet of green footprint, 8 million square feet. We have to see how we can live in conjunction with birds, animals, flora, and fauna, because they are really, really crying out aloud to tell us that you are taking over our spaces. Having said that, your heart is where your home is. And green buildings contribute to, building sector contributes to 28% of the carbon emissions, and 10% comes out of the products which are used in building, glass, steel, cement. So a 38 whopping percent of carbon emissions comes from buildings. Now, how can we make buildings healthier living spaces? I'll give you some examples. We have a higher productivity rate from all the software centers we do, Infosys, Wipro, 25% increase in productivity. You have green hospitals where the recovery rates are 20% faster. So certainly green buildings have demonstrated that they make good sense for our health and for our living. They're healthier living spaces. We look at control of indoor environment quality. We look at maximizing daylighting. We look at passive architecture, which we have lost over time. If you look at the earlier structures, you go to the Taj Mahal in Agra, you go to the Bhai Temple, which is of course quite recent in New Delhi. You don't need a fan to stand in those. There is so much, the Hawa Mahal, there is so much cross ventilation taking place. Green buildings are 3 to 4 degrees less in temperature without any active cooling than the ambient temperature. So it makes good sense to go green. And now we have green buildings which do not cost much. The buildings now are not even more than 1 or 2% compared to a conventional building. We look at bringing in daylighting without bringing in heat. We look at using materials which are in abundance rather than in depletion. For example, we brought about the use of fly ash cement because fly ash was in abundance. We look at energy efficiency, water efficiency, harnessing water by rainwater harvesting. I am very happy to note that the government has taken up a mantle upon themselves to green India. You have the Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0, where they're looking at, you have the Amrut Mission, Atal Mission for rejuvenation of urban, urban transformation. Your government is looking at free sewage cities, free garbage cities. Already 9 cities are qualified, but they are looking at 157 cities now. You're looking at treating all water and sanitation and waste. You're looking at ODF, the big ODF program, open defecation free program that is taking place. We're looking at energy conservation through the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, the ECBC norms, and the Indian Plumbing Association is now working with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, where we are bringing about what we call a Bharat tap, where we reduce water consumption in plumbing fixtures and sanitary ware by 30-35% at source. So you do not need to treat that much water, because treatment is also costly. You go to Singapore, just in our neighborhood, 40% water comes from desalination, 40% comes from treating sewage, gray and black water, and they put it in a bottle called new water and we drink that water. We may have this trauma or this thing that we can't drink flush water, but it's treated to a level in the new water plants, which is not only potable, it is drinkable. So there has been a lot of reduction of carbon footprint from the government's initiatives. They have a clean air program where they're looking at 154 cities for the National Clean Air Program. They want clean air, clean water, clean land. And now we have also seen that trash is cash. So we have to seriously look at the cradle-to-cradle approach. And as far as the Indian Plumbing Association is concerned, I would advise you, do not think you're Lata Mangeshkar or Mohammad Rafi, you sing under your shower. Please do not use your WC as a dustbin or ashtray. I do not know, Apur, whether you smoke, but if you do, you anyway use an ashtray. Do not dump your hair. I mean, girls would dump the hair and flush it down. We don't have water for tomorrow. India has 17% of the world's population, only 4% of its fresh water. So you can produce energy by renewable sources, but where will you get water from? My request to everybody is we must have certified green cities. I went to a very large, can I just have another 30 seconds? I went to one of the largest builders in India, and I went to see 2 flats there. The flats were 100% air conditioned. So I told this builder that, boss, my children can't live in an air-conditioned space all the time. How can you, and only one window opens 45 degrees. He says, sir, we have a lawn down 21 lakh square feet. So I'm not going to go down and have my chai and coffee in the morning in the lawn. I mean, people don't understand that, and they say they're green. Without certification, because you see, green buildings look at using sustainable materials, using materials which are recyclable. Landfill, they save on landfill, they save on carbon footprint, energy efficiency, water efficiency, low VOC compounds, and there are many more things that we look at where we are now moving towards net zero energy, water, carbon, and waste. So certainly we have a long way to go, but I'm proud to tell you, you belong to the EPCI, but now India is the second largest green building council in the world. We have 800 crore square feet. Okay, and we are aspiring to be number 1. Let me tell you now in an open forum, because my task is I must green my mother India, and I must stop people from keep on taking out from their mother's womb again and again. The mother will die. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Gumit. Jia, let me come to you next. In light of the pandemic that we've been facing and the anticipated extreme weather events that are projected to, which have started, of course, and are projected to increase going forward, what are the kind of, say, adaptation and mitigation strategies or policies that you're seeing being discussed or considered implemented in the city space in India?
Well, thank you, Apurv, and thank you, Sapna and Realty, for actually having this conversation. I'm very happy that the real estate industry is sort of waking up and talking about resilience. Basically, this wasn't a conversation present even 5 years ago. So I feel like this is great. And just in terms of context setting, to state a few things of where we are really. So in terms of real estate, 35 billion square meters of new real estate is going to come into Indian cities by 2050. But 75% of overall infrastructure is yet to be built. We know that. And why this is important, adaptation mitigation, is because India is the seventh most vulnerable country with respect to climate extreme. And according to a new CEW report, 27 out of the 35 states and union territories are highly vulnerable to extreme hydromet disasters and their compounding impacts, right? And basically what you stated earlier, in terms of context, Apurva, the heat waves, the droughts, the frequency of floods, waterlogging, the human also, the aspect of it, the social aspect of, these repercussions and health aspects. And basically the IPCC report, which is, which basically essentially paints a very troubling picture that basically more of this is going to become frequent. It's going to become more severe, and we are going to have to adapt at the end of the day, because the GHG emissions reductions required to overcome this sort of phase that we are going through is half, and the point is, will the world change business as usual and get there? So what's happening is that a lot of these, events will also cause irreversible impacts, right, on biodiversity, economy, food security, mental health, physical health, and all of that. And so therefore, a lot of this adaptation mitigation is being talked about. Mitigation is essentially how do you reduce your GHG emissions and your carbon that you're emitting, right, from the activities that cities and countries are typically doing. The adaptation part is that how quickly do you adapt to these stresses, knowing that there's going to be slow onset, rapid onset events that are going to be happening. How do you bounce back? We talk about how in Mumbai, for example, there's floods every year, and Mumbaikars are very resilient, they bounce back. So how quickly can you bounce back, right? So those are two things. Now, the Indian government, basically through national policy, subnational policy, there's a lot going on, and I do think Mr. Gurmeet touched upon several of those points. And I'd like to add to that, on the national policy level, for example, there are three main things. Sorry, there's a train going by. The first is basically around land use and transport integration, so looking at planning, looking at the design of cities, the congestion, the sort of sprawl that is happening, and how do you look at transit-oriented development. So the national government has put in place, national transit-oriented development policy. The states are following, cities are following suit. They understand that compactness is required in order to reduce GHG emissions. One is from just, excessive travel. The other is also from promoting sort of, mass transit, non-motorized transport and all of that. So that's happening. The other is on the green infrastructure side, and there's schemes like the Smart City Mission, Amrut, Jal Shakti Abhiyan. They have implemented, or they're in the process of implementing, climate resilient projects across cities, lake rejuvenation, restoration of natural wells, open green spaces, rainwater harvesting. There's also the there are also around specific Nagar Van schemes, for example, which are around urban forestry and how do you increase that in the context of cities. So that is happening. And then there are many initiatives around energy, right? Renewable energy and increasing energy access and so on for the poor. At the state level, there are various schemes which are being spearheaded, like Maji Vasundhara in Maharashtra, for example, and there's things happening in Kerala. There are around biodiversity and green space conservation. City level also, many cities have started their climate action plans. Mumbai, Bangalore, a lot of cities are starting on that. They have completed. Mumbai has actually just completed. They will be launching that soon. They're looking at sector-wise GHG inventories for the first time and setting targets on how to cut down those emissions. So if in transport, this is where we are, how do you kind of rein that in and so on. And there are these plans, for example, that cities like Bengaluru, Bhopal, Delhi, Madurai have incorporated, like, the blue-green infrastructure plan as part of their city development plans and master plans. Surat, is doing something around clean air. And there are lots of on-ground interventions also which are happening, but in pockets and quite fragmented, especially around nature-based solutions. So basically looking at how do you bring uptake for that, expand green cover expansion. So there's the 6 biodiversity parks in Delhi, the Virgin Urban Forest in Pune, and many small examples. But the problem is that these nature-based solutions, which are going to be very powerful, actions against adaptation, are slow to the uptake. There are many issues with, kind of scaling them. And the point is, how do you, scale up nature-based solutions and adaptation action in cities? So that's where we are sitting right now, Purva.
Thanks, Jaya. Hopefully we pick those up soon. So Asni, let me come to you next. And let's talk about design, because design is an extremely important part in sustainable buildings. A good design or a bad design, either way, the impacts of those designs do get logged into the building once and for all, for say, over the life cycle of a period. We won't change building walls and completely demolish them for 50, 60 years. So as we are looking towards this future where we also need to consider some of the future impacts of climate change, how do we kind of look towards designing buildings which are sustainable but also more resilient in the long term? Mike, sorry.
Yeah, I am unmuted. Thank you all for inviting me. First, I would like to say that design is not only about building materials. Design is about planning, and design is about innovation, and design is about collaboration, you see. And I find that a lot of the efforts in this country that goes into at the policy level to make Indian cities more sustainable, whether it was the JNURM scheme, which went right from administration, time planning and other things, and smart city program and various other programs. The two bottlenecks that we face in this country, which are more difficult to deal with, one is cultural, and the other one is about community level involvement. So we have policies that would help the country to become more sustainable, right from urban planning, design, architecture, building materials, technology, innovation in terms of building sciences. All this is there. We have experts, we have people with a lot of experience, we have goodwill. But there is a serious lack of cultural acceptance in terms of, I would say, design in this country, or what we call intellectual input appreciation. So whether you're a planner or a designer or an architect or somebody like that, and you're going through the cycle, and I'm a bit sorry to say this in this forum, which is sponsored by real estate, is design takes a last seat. And then you plug in technological solutions and hope that will be the glue that will hold the project to become green. So you get points, and I'm sorry, Gurmeet Singh ji, but giving points in terms of green building, where you again fragment technological input, which do not often function together and are not really in context. And this is where I think a lot of work has to be done on a cultural level. Post-independence, Indians have been very mobile, but either because of distress, jobs, education, whatever, we have very cosmopolitan cities and metros. And somewhere along the line, the cohesion in terms of social capital building works only when we have disasters, whether it's a flooding in Mumbai or tsunami on the East Coast, then people come together. But what we have in hand is one of the biggest disasters that we as Homo sapiens sapiens are going to live through. Post the fifth extinction, primates have come into being, and we will be living through and seeing the end of the sixth extinction. And this is where I ask the question, how come India is such a paradox? Because we have culturally and socially one of the most tolerant and collaborative people. And yet, when it comes to making our cities livable, we are extremely competitive, whether it's in terms of land speculation, hogging of infrastructure, not following any rules or regulation, right down from how you drive on the road to waste management and other things. So there's a kind of a paradox. On an individual level, we're very tolerant and very, very compassionate and extremely sharing, and what you call this hospitality of the Indians, but it doesn't seem to extend to our space that we occupy as urban dwellers, or the space that we occupy when we work with designers. It is a competitive enterprise. I'm in this field since 35 years. I can say almost 100% of the projects I've done are focused mainly on putting together strategies and building into a holistic system of design which has water, building sciences, climate, context, vegetation, landscape, waste management, energy generation, everything, right from the first project I started after I left college to now. But what I find most amazing is that between the people who occupy it and the people that I'll build with, it's competitive. You do your work as a designer, then the engineer does it, and then the builder does it, and the financer does it. It's all fractured, disrupted, and segregated. Seriously, I feel that it's not about the embodied energy of the building material I use or efficient building designs that I use, so that I cut down on the amount of space that has to be built and yet fulfill 100% of the functions. And it's not about intelligent envelope design that uses the least amount of material to manifest the maximum enclosed space with the best use of material and labor skills for the geographical context, or about recycling my waste and being net positive in terms of energy, but it's about how we work together in the development sector. And this is where I find that we as professionals may have to take the leadership role between the engineering, design, technology, and planning sector to bring about a new paradigm shift in terms of professional collaboration. When Jaya was talking about land use and mobility being integrated, otherwise you don't get sustainable urban planning. And I completely resonate with that as an urban planner myself. But land use is only tied to land value, and mobility is only tied to disposable income, strata. So the more disposable income I have, the further I want to live from where my income is generated. These kind of paradoxes are a bit difficult to deal with if we do not put our finger on the cultural sensitivity of the professionals and say, let's stop looking at only iconic buildings and green buildings and appreciating, the star architect, but looking at a collaborative enterprise where we say, each one of us is part of the whole, and the whole is part of this country. And this country moves only when we collaborate. Which brings me then to the next phase, like how do we bridge the gap between the professional, the public, and the politicians at another level? Because only then we move it to the impacting the structure itself that controls the development without actually paying attention to it. Because to put it in a certain metaphoric language, you can, bring up a child two ways, by neglect or by being very present. And both ways you bring up. And I feel that we are building this country by neglect right now, but focusing a lot of love and attention on the finance, real estate, and the industrial sector. And they're hoping that somehow, by some magic, it'll all come together one day by itself. But it is not. I find the last 10 years, The situation has actually become starker, and the pandemic brought it very close to home for us, and we start waking up that we are not outside the impact zone. We could be collateral damage in the design profession itself. Thank you.
Right. Yes, I mean, we do need to get everybody on board. So let me just go to Namrata next. At Godrej Properties, where you have been designing a lot of green buildings for a very long time, now almost 2 decades. And given this shift now that we are seeing on moving towards, say, net zero buildings and net zero, say, energy and water buildings, how is that getting factored into design and construction at Godrej Properties?
Actually, if I may, because I believe the only real estate person on this panel and therefore speak on from the other side, I don't think I want to talk about green buildings at all. And I say this with the utmost respect to all green building professionals, because what we felt at a large real estate company, and we have a footprint of 153 million, and I think what Jaya has also helped set context as to how much more. I mean, if one developer can have a development footprint of 153 million square feet, you can imagine aggregated, you are seeing actually that much come into the market every year and subsequently till 2050. So the way we look at sustainability, and I believe it has evolved from a focus which was predominantly on green buildings. We are a founding member of the IGBC, and we have been building green for a while now. And for us now, it's base hygiene. Every Godrej Properties development has to be IGBC minimum silver, and there are internal mandates on how projects get rewarded if the silver moves upwards. And those are for us to manage, because we honestly don't even believe that we need customer commitment to do that. This for us is something that we're going to do. One of the things we did do is to say that we can put in the best infrastructure. We went back and found that a lot of that infrastructure was just not getting used, because we hand the societies over to a management committee, which is society driven, and no one takes care of solar panels, and who cares actually at the end of the day. You just want to cut costs, and not every society is involved. So we started certifying the Green Society certification, purely because it is sustainable development is a collective mandate. It isn't going to happen if one person, and I think it is a pleasure, at least for me, to be on this panel, because of the varied disciplines, opinions, insights that all of us get, because it's so well represented. So the way I'd say is green buildings as of now are hygiene, but it isn't just green buildings which is sustainability. Honestly speaking, sustainability, at least for us, is toggled across environmental, social, and governance, and it is very important for us. And the one thing that we started doing a couple of years back is we did not allow people to say sustainability initiatives anymore. For us, it's now sustainability performance, or rather ESG performance. Every site has an environmental management system, because it isn't just the green building approved that is important. Gurmeet correctly mentioned that IPCC says 39% of global emissions are from the real estate sector, 28% of those are operational, and 11% is embodied carbon. So yes, materials matter, but how you make the building is also incredibly important as a sectoral device. And what we found is, while we may have focused on green buildings, we had to take a step back and focus on how we were building the green buildings. So we've set up environmental management system on all of our current operational sites. I'm hoping to say that by the next year, all of them would be ISO 14001 certified. For us, our biggest thing is to, in the reuse, recycle, mitigate, that we have to make sure that consumption is less. Then we have to ensure that whatever we build is built in that premise. And in case we are not able to fully address our footprint, we must sequester in that respect. Now, operations therefore have been the thrust of our efforts in the last couple of years. And another reason, or another thrust area that I believe real estate would greatly benefit from is exceedingly transparent public disclosures. So we fill in all the GRISP rating forms, which allow us to see where we are and we benchmark it. 2013, I can honestly say our scores were terrible. That was 7 years back. But the moment you hold yourself up to an external benchmark, you know where you have to put your efforts in the entire ESG value chain, and you can actually recognize and control and impact and therefore extend sustainability beyond what is the perceived functions of purely design and construction. So for us now, in the entire company, 12 to 15% direct workforce of a 1,900-person large real estate company has ESG, or for this matter, sustainability performance mandates in their goal sheets. What this means is it's no longer optional for you to do something. The other thing is that data matters in a country such as ours, where data is not in great supply, and it is very important for us to know what is the cost of our doing business. So if we say, at what cost to the planet is our profit being delivered on? And it's not easy. Trust me that to sort of infect an entire system to be able to pull this sort of consolidated efforts. My learned colleagues on this panel, Jaya, all of us could meet. It's a pleasure because you do realize that if things work together, it's a lot better for us to see what the value is. So one of the things we did is actually go back and look at our emissions footprint by looking at each and everything we purchased, how we used it. That means every project we have GHG accounting. Every project we know what the consumption data is. Every project I can look at what is the carbon cost of the value that has been generated. Now, this is the time for us to put it together, and we need to set up internal mechanisms, which is what we are working on. Because we would like to be responsible. Our aspirations are to be amongst the world's most responsible and sustainable real estate developers. That doesn't mean that tomorrow we're going to change the fact that we will stop being real estate developers. We are in this workplace, and this is our mandate. But it's the how that matters. And what we have understood is that just as how people have to work together, sustainability is not run by sustainable managers or just by getting an IGBC certification because we made it hygiene. If we hadn't made it hygiene, I would be spending all of my time making sure that the buildings have that certification. For us, if that is not on a dashboard, that project has no way it's going to get launched. So it by itself is now a default setting. Now for us, handing the project over is the other step. Sites being environmentally managed is important. Biodiversity indicators are important. And whatever we consume through our CSR projects, we hope to mitigate that. As a company, we are water positive. So we did a couple of projects in the Marathwada region, because of which are the amount of water that we recharge to the ground as a company is more than what we think it's sustainable, but does it make business sense? I have a clear matrix in my hand that says, well, it's going to cost you this much in 5 years. So I'm only asking you to make a small percentage of investment at this stage. And if we are able to quantify and speak the other person's language, and that's how collaboration happens. We can always say we want to do the right thing, but if we find more areas of convergence, if we are able to talk to who we are talking to in a manner that they feel heard and understood, I do believe collectively we'll be able to do a lot more. On the disclosures,
Sorry, just to kind of respect other speakers' time as well. I'm sorry.
No, please. By all means.
Apurva, can I intervene 1 minute? Namrata, you have a very big echo. Maybe you're using your hotspot on your phone. Are you?
No, I'm not.
There's a very big echo. Anyway.
No worries. Thanks, Apurva. And like I mentioned, we have to move into a sort of a value-based, larger, almost like an ecosystem approach. If truly, we have to work together and solve problems. So, sorry if my answer was beyond green building.
No, Namrata, I think you really need to check your sound because it was very difficult to follow you. You have a terrible echo.
Maybe you can leave and rejoin again. Maybe it will be better.
Sure, let me do that.
Sorry, Apurva.
That's fine. So I think in the interest of time, let me just jump to Nihar next. And we talk about water, because water, of course, is a very, very critical resource. Electricity, once generated, it's easy to transport to further distances, but water is very regional. So water issues also become regional. So now, given that you are in that space, how do you see things happening, and what are the issues you come across whenever we talk about, say, water scarcity and sustainability in different cities, different regions, and how do you and your team work towards, say, addressing those issues?
Sure. So thanks, Apurv. So, I believe that piping systems are the heart of any project. And being a pioneer and an industry leader, we at Prince Pipes play a major role in making buildings more sustainable. Two specific initiatives that I would like to highlight. So firstly, we design and manufacture piping systems for plumbing, SWR, underground drainage applications, which are not only complying to the standards, but are also piping products that are both high performance, user-friendly, and minimize leakage of water, which helps. And secondly, I would like to talk about a new product that we have launched called EasyFit RE, which are plumbing pipes designed for reclaimed water. So, on site, we understood that there was a lack of differentiation between what pipes are carrying the fresh water and what pipes are carrying the reclaimed water, now that STP plants are mandatory in most projects. And this would create a lot of confusion, while the maintenance work would be, going on. So we studied the international, plumbing codes, from which we realized that, purple is the color for reclaimed water. And from now on site, there is a very good differentiation that white pipes would be used for fresh water and purple ASTM pipes would be used for reclaimed water. And, I understand that this is a very sort of minor innovation, and it's, in the larger scheme of things. However, I believe that, such small inventions help promote the ease and the convenience of recycling water, while also addressing important issues that are faced by the contractors on site. So, I believe that as an building material manufacturer, it is up to us to constantly innovate and try to identify such solutions which address both improve sustainability while also addressing on-site challenges.
Thanks, Nihar. So yeah, I mean, that is of course very important, and I think that collaboration between demand and from the designers and the professionals and the response from all the building material manufacturers to kind of meet that demand is essential to kind of keep moving forward. Which brings me to Akhil. And given your experience, I just wanted to kind of talk about one of the big sectors within green building, like individual, or rather say any building itself, which consumes a lot of energy when we talk about, say, offices and hotels and hospitals and airports, data centers, is the cooling and the other MEP, which take up anywhere between 40 to 60% of the total energy consumed every year. So what kind of advances or trends have you been seeing in this space to ensure that that big chunk of cooling comes down, that energy consumption for those come down, and where are we going in that front?
Hello everyone, it's good to be on the call. I hope you all can hear me and there's no echo.
Perfect.
Excellent. So, I mean, it's great to be in this sparring of sustainability. It's the best time for sustainability in that regard for sure, because the implementation of it clearly doesn't seem to be a question across stakeholders. So that's going to be great fun. So it's the best time to be in sustainability for what it's worth. With regards to energy, that is the biggest guzzler, right? Temperature control is what takes up maximum power, because with lighting, we've become much more efficient. Our pumps, motors have become much more efficient. So a lot of the money is actually going behind temperature control, even in terms of the calamities we're talking about and how the weather will behave in the coming 50 years for what it's worth. But all that is going to come down to, sort of how are you going to control the temperature within buildings, whether you're heating it or cooling it. Within that, there are a lot of options available, to be honest. It's just a case of considering all of them when you're sitting down on a table for a project. So if you take an example of an IT project, now when you're looking at an IT project, you're still thinking air conditioning coming from the ceiling, sort of throwing air down, return airs are still open, simple things like that. They change with underfloor cooling coming in, which has been there. It's not new, but like what गुरमीत सर was saying that STP पानी पीने को डर लगता है हमको, उसी तरह से हवा जमीन से निकलती है तो हमको लगता है शायद ना चलेगी या खराब हो जाएगा सिस्टम. So these are things that we'll get over in some sense, but in terms of system options available, right from geothermal to the IoT platform, in terms of how passive energy is controlled, I think we are very advanced. So we are right on the ball with that. Energy modeling, of course, is gaining a lot more prominence, which it should as well. So yeah, I mean, in terms of energy consumption, that's where it is, sort of considering technologies which have been there and seeing what is more sustainable, both in terms of the high side and the low side distribution. MOEF, I mean, sorry, I just will do another minute if that's okay. Gurmeet and Jaya covered a lot of government initiatives that are bringing sustainability to the forefront. When we started, MOEF was the biggest thing that changed sustainability in terms of having STPs for all the projects. So regulation makes a huge impact, in the sense the fact that we are getting more regulation, it's actually amazing. So we're on the right track with that. So yeah, that's about it from me.
Thanks, Akhil. So let's do one quick round of questions, and before we kind of summarize and close the session, looking at the time and throw it open for Q&A. This time around, I think, given the time, we might just have about 2 or 3 minutes per speaker, given so that we stay within the limits. And I'll start again with you, Mr. Gurmeet. Now that we have heard all of these things as well, and we move into 2022, what are some of the immediate near future trends that you see in the space? How do you see this space evolve this year and maybe early next year?
Well, I'll start by a quote of Greta Thunberg, the COP26. She says, blah, 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 blah. We, ladies and gentlemen, are not blah, 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 blah. We have shown to the world that green buildings can improve health, can cut down on energy consumption, water consumption, and resource consumption. Having said that, I agree with Suhasini. She spoke about collaboration. What we are trying to do through our 30 rating systems, marrying Jal, Vayu, Agni, Akash, and Dharti into these rating systems, collaborating with nature and collaborating with Mother Earth. The future of green buildings covers health and well-being, which is very important. We are looking at radiation levels in buildings. We are all now using cordless devices. Rates of cancer are going up. We do not realize why people who don't smoke and drink are also getting cancer. I do not know how many of you know granite gives out 50% more radiation than marble. And all our airports scrupulously use granite on the flooring all over because it looks good. Now, having said that, Akhil, my own house in Bombay has a 800 square feet drawing room. And I have 6 tons of air conditioning in 800 square feet. Okay, the IGBC chairman, I'm a culprit. So let me admit that first. We certified a project in Kopalkerni, 640 acres, 9,000 employees, 700 square feet, 1 ton of air conditioning. You won't believe me, all of you. Now, can you imagine the energy and the capex cost we brought down? The same company, 840 acres we certified, 17,000 employees, 850 square feet, 1 ton of air conditioning. So I have 800 square feet in my home, 6 tons of air conditioning. And the same, they provide comfort level to the employees, 17,000 employees, 850 square feet, 1 ton of air conditioning. Look at the reduction of energy and the capital cost. What you can measure, you can monitor. Okay? If you cannot measure, you cannot monitor. The biggest problem in India on water consumption is we do not meter each and every house and each and every office. The moment you start metering, like you meter gas and you meter electricity, you have to pay for it, you switch it off. But water is free for you. The future of green buildings is moving towards the net zero movement. We have already launched codes for net zero water, waste and carbon, and a pilot version of net zero water, energy and waste, and a pilot version of the net zero carbon. Government of India's target is 2070 to make India carbon neutral. IGBC's target is 2030 for all new buildings and 2050 for all existing buildings. Difficult to convert existing buildings. You look at IBS hotel, he tells me, yeah, I'll treat all my water, but I do not know where to use it because I don't have any landscaping in my hotel. It's just a block of rooms that is built in a very small area. So there are challenges, but we are getting there. I have 2,000 companies already signed up on the net zero mission. My own headquarters, which we built in 2003, inaugurated by the then President of India, was 18% more. Today we have ample number of projects which are equal to the cost or 1 or 2% more than a conventional building, which doesn't matter at all in the total scheme of things. We have our own headquarters where we have installed photovoltaic panels where we produce energy on both the sides. So that means I can use 180 degrees of the sun's rays. Even when I'm in the sun shadow region, the reflective paint reflects on the bottom of my solar panel and we produce energy. We are not net zero. We are net positive energy. I have 250 employees working there with air conditioning and we produce more energy. We give back to the grid. Plant 13, if I'm not wrong, Namrata, is net zero energy. Lots of your projects are now going net zero energy and in net zero. And they are net, as she said, you could not hear her in the echo, but the whole Godrej plant now is net positive on water. So can you imagine you are producing, I have certified a lot of projects which do not require water from the municipal corporation, do not give the waste into the municipal corporation, do not require energy. Look at the operating cost saving, the OPEX. So I am not looking at CapEx has already come down, but if I can save on the OPEX, I can increase the health and well-being of my people living there. Certainly we'll have done something for society. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Definitely shift to positive would be better from the zeros. Jia, let me come to you next. And there is, like, as we again talk about making cities more resilient, there is conversation of looking at nature-based solutions as an alternative to the hardcore gray infrastructure. So what are some of these and how are they being kind of considered in cities in India or in general conversations where it's going right now?
Sure. So first I'll start with the good news. And the good news is that we now have data and evidence that shows that nature-based solutions can play a critical role in, urban climate change adaptation and mitigation. And just in a nutshell, what are nature-based solutions? These are approaches which use nature to increase and restore natural capital or a pool of environmental resources. So using nature for nature, right? And the solutions are relatively low cost as compared to grey infrastructure or tech-based solutions. They're sustainable. They offer benefits like disaster risk reduction, carbon sequestration, mitigating heat islands, promoting water resilience, food security, etc. And they also have really good returns when it comes to generating livelihoods. So, the investment that you make, say, $1 million that you invest on nature-based solutions generates about 7 to 40 jobs, right? So these solutions, typically, they reside in two contexts when we talk about them. So they're either urban or rural. So urban NBS can vary in scale. So looking at building plot level, solutions like vertical gardens, green roofs, etc., to local neighborhood level solutions like rain gardens, block and avenue plantations, urban parks, etc. And then the regional scale, where you're talking about more on the wetland conservation, urban forest, mangrove, restoration, etc. These are the kind of interventions that we have when it comes to urban. And they differ from the rural solutions, which are like agroforestry and afforestation, which generally require large tracts of land and are managed by communities most of the time rather than individual owners. So, and there's, for example, there's an example, and this is something that people should look at, the China Sponge City program, right? And Wuhan got a bad name on certain things, but, Wuhan also is doing a great job in terms of its Sponge City program and, bringing nature-based solutions at climate proofing the cities, the buildings, and, good water management practices. Now, the bad news, or the not so good news, is that despite of all of this, nature-based solution interventions in India are yet to see significant scale. And the reasons behind are clearly, one, in the urban realm, it's the requirement for large land parcels, for it to have any kind of a significant benefit. Then also, multiple agencies and ownerships come into play, depending on the size of the land required, etc. And so that requires more coordination effort. The other challenges include limited awareness and capacity, both technical and financial, at all levels of all stakeholders, whether it's government or investors or whoever it is, to also implement and maintain NBS on the ground. And, the nature-based solution business model itself, unfortunately, has not found proper articulation. So because of which, post-implementation, there's a question of who does this belong to? Who's going to take care of the operations and maintenance of these, projects? And so this leads to sort of long-term ineffectiveness due to the gaps. The governance structures also hinder innovation, something that Suhasini was talking about earlier is, innovation and design. And there is absence of, standard specs and impact measurement frameworks, so that, people don't know, people who are investing, they don't know that, what are they getting out of this, and what is the effective, outcomes that this is leading to. And also that's why investors are generally, favoring immediate results and, measurable outcomes, which grey infrastructure solutions provide. Now, that being said, there are cities like Hyderabad, Mumbai, Kolkata, Kochi, who've made tons of efforts, on kind of mainstreaming nature-based solutions in their cities. WRI India has been working with many of those. And I'll just very quickly tell you about, the framework that we use essentially to work with these cities. So first is, the analytic tools, because we believe that you can't manage what you can't measure. So basically the first is the science, right? To bring the tools, to look at measuring baselines, to look at, what is the potential of restoration in cities. So we have developed many tools to kind of do that, and methodologies to help cities do that. Also down to things like site species, matching, because you just can't throw around seeds and plant any tree anywhere, that causes other, down the pipe problems, other sort of maladaptations eventually. So looking at that. The second is looking at governance, finance, and institutional innovation. So basically, especially the O&M side of things. So for example, in Kochi, we did this, activity where we brought this, we did a mapathon exercise, did the site species map, we did the pilot projects, and then we also structured the O&M, where, Kudumbashri, for example, which is a grassroots organization in Kerala, is going to play a big role in kind of taking these projects on and, kind of ensuring the maintenance. The third thing is, looking at prioritizing vulnerable communities, because these are the people who have, the least amount of contribution to climate change, but will be the most impacted, as in this situation gets worse. So looking at how do you assess individual and community resilience, how do you measure that, and what are the areas that need to be strengthened for these communities? And the final is, plans and prototypes. So whether you're looking at city disaster management plans, how do you move them from rescue and recovery to more preparedness and resilience? Whether you're looking at climate action plans and what kind of targets you're setting, and how you're doing it in a collaborative manner. And the last thing that, we are doing, which we recently launched, is this accelerator on urban nature-based solutions, through the CityFix Labs, where we are looking at, testing, identifying pilot initiatives, which can then be scaled up in cities, which relate to air, water, and green space management and efficiency. And then also the second goal is to create a forum on nature-based solutions in India, which would be a multi-stakeholder platform, which facilitates this whole peer-to-peer learning and knowledge exchanges for this nature-based solution conversation to scale. So basically, as the IPCC report is again talking, with loss and damage, going to be rising exponentially, cities need a lot of finance for adaptation action to build resilient communities. And we pretty much have the opportunity now to influence about a USD 53 billion in budget over the next 5 years in sort of infrastructure and disaster. So, how we go about influencing that and bringing solutions which will take this in the right direction is, that's the onus which kind of lies on us all collectively. And I'll stop there.
Thanks, Jaya. Namrata, let me jump to you next. And this, what I'm going to talk about is also something that we've heard a lot about over the last several years, where there's constant conversation about we need more demand and we need to figure out what the people want, whether they're buying their apartments or they're buying offices. And if the people want something, then those buildings or those better buildings or that degree of sustainability can be built into them. So in your experience, what are some of the expectations that you've heard, whether it's at the commercial scale or residential scale, from different kinds of customers, internal or external, and how do you kind of go about addressing them so that, you know, they
First,
become
I'm just going to check, Apurv, that I'm heard.
Yeah, this time perfect. Sorry.
It's just changed earphone. Sorry about that. And on the demand side, I honestly think that there has been a fairly visible shift. And I'm not going to correlate it to any metrics like willingness to pay and such. I'm talking about qualitative demand. Particularly post the pandemic, there is a very increased appreciation that almost everyone has had for their homes because we've pretty much been constrained towards those. And in this spaces matter, access to green spaces, access, daylight, ventilation, all of those things have perceptibly become more important. And this is something that we are seeing across an entire demand base, which is across the country. So I do think that while we are prioritizing this in effect across our projects, this is only something that's only going to grow. One of the reasons I mentioned green societies is encouraging people to take care of their infrastructure, also to form communities. So we encourage people to set up, Jaya, you mentioned small green communities, for example. It could be folks who are growing their own vegetables. And we saw this happen across all our projects. And we are finding that setting up a pilot and scaling it across projects is a very easy way for us to impact scale. And we are seeing small interventions result much more important returns. One thing I must say that surprised us in terms of the volume that came out is the demand for electric vehicle charging, which we are seeing across board and across a lot of projects. I do think that this will, while now IGBC Platinum ask the numbers that you have to give has gone up substantively rather than what used to be there in previous years. I do think that this is a number that we will be tracking a lot more consciously because there is a very clear correlation and all developers will have to take care of that. On the commercial side, we have found that green buildings pay. I'm not sure if you are aware, but one of our developments, which is Godrej BKC, in BKC, of course, and which is IGBC Platinum rated, was able to hold price for the highest transaction value ever recorded for commercial projects. Having been involved with that project from the start of the project from the start of the construction, which is digging the hole till the final handover, I found that our ability to hold on to the premise and not dilute any of the specifications which entailed for that project allowed us to do this. And I think that has given a lot of confidence to people within the system when they're able to say that, yes, if we do things right and if we are not compromising, whether it's even on the urban scale, because we represented to MMRDA, we did not want to build a boundary wall at the ground plane. And these were things that you do not find developers representing. You don't typically find developers saying, hey, we'd like to keep the boundary porous and we'd like to put in a little bit extra green. I know you've requested the space. And we found that it was easier to do that jointly with our architects on the job. And we were able to convince them, and we've seen this happen. And now a lot of our leasing teams use such projects as benchmarks and say that it is only when projects don't have high degrees of specifications to cut out, say, solar heat gain, that they look blue tinted and green tinted. If you build right, you will have daylighting. You will not have to put the lights on in the day. So our leasing teams are now trained to say that there is a correlation between your operational cost and what you build and the infrastructure you put together. So, I mean, that's all from me, but I hope that gives you some confidence that yes, the demand side has also evolved. And I do think we will continue to see it. My only caution here would be not to wait for someone to ask for it. I do think we have to remain ahead of it we have to provide solutions before it becomes a clamor from the customers.
Right. Thanks, Namrata. Nihar, let me just jump to you next. And just wanted to figure out, like, as we are moving out of the pandemic now, hopefully, barring other crises evolving in the world don't impact us, hopefully, and we move towards some degree of normalcy, like, what are the directions that you are seeing from your perspective emerge in this sector, and where do you see things going now in the future?
Sure. So I think being one of the leaders, in the building material segment, it's important that we at Prince, not only analyze the future of sustainability and analyze these trends, but actually, drive the future of sustainability in plumbing. And I think one way of driving such sustainability is by benchmarking ourselves against developed markets and introducing such products and solutions which makes it easier for builders to adopt sustainability without impacting their profitability. So today, the concept of a triple bottom line is at the core of our long-term strategy at Prince. Triple bottom line, which includes not only the financial bottom line, but also the social and environmental bottom line. So now it is our goal to pioneer, piping solutions that enable builders to attain their triple bottom line goals. And I think one such example is a product that we have recently introduced to the Indian industry is DWC pipes, double wall corrugated pipes, which are used for underground drainage. Now, DWC pipes are high performance, user-friendly solutions relative to the conventionally used RCC cement pipes for this underground drainage application. And today, DWC pipes not only have better load-bearing capacities, they also have a longer product life cycle, making them more economical for the builder, and now making it very convenient to pipe waste as well as treat waste. So I think, as a manufacturer, it is important that we consistently pioneer such products in India, which enable builders to focus on their triple bottom line, which will drive sustainability in their buildings. So yeah, that's all I have.
Thanks, Nihar. Swasni, let me come to you next. And just wanted to touch upon, say, the material space, which is slowly gathering a little bit of attention, and the impacts of material selection within buildings, within infrastructure as well. There are impacts which are on carbon, but also equally important is the fact that as materials and the supply chains become more complex, we often do not know where our materials are coming from and what are the impacts within those supply chains that are happening. So when you go about, say, selecting materials which are lower impact and could be on carbon, could be on human impacts and others, like, how would you go about, or how should people go about them?
Okay. Whenever we take up any project, we actually do a kind of matrix based on several factors that makes a material choice for us in a way. So one of the first thing is, of course, the context. Where are we building? And one of the ways we go about identifying what is the local building material is to go and visit structures that were built pre-1950s, at a time when people didn't have disposable income, the road infrastructure was not developed, and skill development used to be basically localized. And so people tend to use the buildings over several generations. So they built for resilience, they built for actually longevity. So by just visiting just 3 or 4 structures that are built pre-1950s, you get a whole palette of what is the typical local material. Now, of course, you could have a bottleneck that, which could be that local material now is no longer local, or nobody's making it, or because there was no demand, or it's become too expensive or whatever. The next thing that we look at is what can be supplied from this palette, okay? Even if it means going the extra mile for it. And third is looking at what does it mean in terms of how it's going to be used. And the last but final is the skill upgradation of the people who are going to work with material. So when you put all these together, of course, there's the cost factor and then the investment and other things of. But if the project is large enough, what we have noticed is that sometimes the collective memory has failed and you can just bring it back. And by just reintroducing something that was always there, it's almost like you do an acupuncture just where the memory has failed, and people realize, oh, but that was so good, my grandfather and this. And so you can actually make a shift in the way people look at building materials and technology in a place. But of course, embodied energy, the life cycle of it, and how it is going to be impacting the area that you're getting it and the people who are producing it is another factor. So in a way, when you make the matrix of all these things, the first thing that jumps out to you is how you as a designer can make the least impact by first designing in a way that the building material and the building technology and the carbon footprint and the embodied energy and the life cycle cost, and all these can be reduced by efficient design, climatic design, and context-based design. So in a way, your question, I know you would like me to give you an answer that responds really to your question, but I cannot very honestly say that I can just pull it out and answer only that, because everything is kind of interrelated. Yeah? Thank you.
Right. I mean, all these are like, as we also kind of, I think somebody pointed out earlier as well, like there is a need for more and more data, but as more data comes out, we suddenly start realizing the complexity and how many things get affected by every single decision. So yeah, I mean, it is not as easy, definitely, or simple. Okay, let me throw the last question to you, and hopefully I think we are a little over, but maybe we'll have just 2-3 minutes, and we'll see, Sapna, if you could let me know in the chat after Akhil's question in case we have time for Q&A or not, depending on, we don't want to delay the next panel. But Akhil, also the last thing to you, like looking at, say, the green building space, the MEP space, there are changes that we have seen come over, say, several decades. People were talking about energy at one point of time. Now we're talking everything in perspective of emissions and carbon as metrics. We're looking at systems, and all the numbers that used to come out as so many kilowatt hour are now changing into so many tons of CO2 emissions, mitigated or reduced, etc. So how are, like, what kind of trends are you seeing from that perspective when you look at, say, reporting and how people are kind of looking at that data from the MEP space?
I'll keep it fairly short. In terms of what you mentioned, Nihit, and which most of all the others mentioned as well, that data points are becoming very important. With MEP, predominantly, it's not the system you've installed, it's how the system is performing once it's installed. So data points come back to haunt us in that sense, in terms of being predictively maintaining assets. So for sure, from a perspective of sustainability going further, measuring existing assets is probably the thing that will make the most impact, or not probably, it'll make the most impact on things. The other thing that everyone was talking about is neighborhood integration. So in terms of how the infrastructure of the neighborhood is in place, so while urban planners look at social settings and how communities can be grown, the infrastructure has to be modular and plug and play, because the way things are going on, you can't sort of say that you can define all the requirements today. It's more providing, like you'd say, Zoom pipes or empty channels for services to come along. So yeah, I mean, that's it from my end between those two data points and neighborhood development at an infrastructure level as well.
Thanks, Akhil. Thanks to all the panelists. I think thank you, Mr. Gurmeet, Jaya, Suhasini, Namrata, Nihar, and Akhil. And I believe, Kavya, you will be bringing Sapna in for, yeah, I'll hand it over to you. Sorry, just interest of time.
No, thank you, Apur, for beautifully moderating the session as well. I think we managed to gather a palette of insights from our speakers. But I'll quickly bring on board Sapna Srivastava, as I believe we do have a couple of questions. So, Sapna, very quickly, over to you.
Yeah, we have one very interesting question. So that question goes to all our speakers. We have been asked is what is the most underrated idea in design and what is the most overrated idea in design? So Akhil, starting from you, what do you think is the most underrated idea in green design or building design, and what is the most overrated idea?
Underrated idea, I would say underfloor cooling is quite underrated. In terms of overrating, I don't think really anything is overrated. It's, sort of to cover all the checkpoints.
Something which is overhyped, then maybe it is.
It's very sensitive space. I don't think there's anything overhyped. Everything in sustainability is equally important, and we'll have to stick to that, right? Only to
okay, so you're saying sustainability sometimes is a overhyped word. Okay. Okay, so Hasini, moving on to you. So what is the most underrated, probably according to you, is the idea in design, and the most overhyped or overrated? You're on mute.
Yeah. The most underrated is the designer, and the most overrated is the financer.
Okay, fantastic. So, Apur, closing remarks to you. What do you have to say? You have heard the panelists. So, what according to you is the most underrated and the most overrated idea?
Yeah, it's underrated. I think being an architect in this space, I would have to agree with Swasni. I mean, design, I think, often gets like the kind of benefit that can come from design is often underrated. People don't think as much. You experience design, but it's not something people in India are yet willing to kind of look towards as something that will have an impact. It's changing, but yeah, overrated. I'm not certain about overrated at this stage, but yeah, I do think that we need to definitely pay more attention to good design. Really,
sometimes,
really,
in fact, people say technology is sometimes very overrated in terms of probably. So,
I mean, it depends. I think but one thing I would say, maybe something that comes to my mind is over time I've heard about, say, costs. It's like, but I remember there was this one greenhouse being built in Delhi, and this gentleman was like, this house was expensive to make, and it's all just very efficient and all that. Yeah. And he's like, it's still cheaper than the house down the road, which is luxurious, but not green. So often we talk about cost being a very critical part, but I think it becomes a matter of priority. Like whether you want to choose luxury, then you can do that. If you want to choose green, you can put the same money there. I think it's a matter of, again, design or choices, it's perspective there.
That's right. We can all agree on that design is a matter of a lot of influences, not only individual influences, but the environment, the understanding. Like Ms. Suhasini said, the mindsets have to change. The recognition of architect or a designer has to, come there in the industry. What our other panel members said, what Mr. Apur said, the cost, that becomes a critical factor in influencing the design. The technology becomes an influencer. Akhil said that there are some of the technologies which are quite underrated, and they need to be recognized for what they can do to probably bringing the green buildings or sustainability. We do have a lot of questions, but yes, we have to move on to the next panel as well. Kavya, I hand it over to you now.
Thank you, Sapna. And I'd like to thank all our panelists. Thank you very much for joining us. And thank you, Apur, for once again beautifully moderating that session. Thank you very much, Suhasini ma'am. Thank you, Akhil. Thank you, Apur. And
thank you all. Yeah.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, on that mindful note, it's time to also march ahead towards our next panel discussion. And let me inform you all that I'm going to urge you all to keep using that hashtag RPWestVirtual, and also tag us at the rate RP Realty Plus on Facebook and Twitter, RP_Realty on Instagram. While we get our next set of speakers on screen, let me also share the brand video of Blaze Master, world's most specified non-metallic fire sprinkler system, backed by Lubrizol Corporation's nearly 60 years of CPVC experience. Blaze Master material delivers the reliability and security expected of any fire protection system. Let's take a look.
When fire strikes, there is limited time to escape and no time for unreliable safety equipment. That's when your reputation is most on the line. Not all orange pipe is the same, so make sure to install the reliability of a BlazeMaster CPVC fire protection system, the most specified non-metallic fire protection system in the world that has one simple goal: to save lives and property. BlazeMaster Fire Protection System's lightweight construction and simple joining system creates a cost-effective and easy-to-install fire suppression solution, providing property developers, engineers and installers with protection against their profit loss and reputation damage. With worldwide approvals from industry standards and certification bodies, along with the specialised advice and support from the most professional team in the industry, you can count on BlazeMaster pipes and fittings for your next residential or retrofit project. Unlike with steel piping systems, a BlazeMaster fire protection system delivers optimal flow rates and excellent hydraulic capabilities. BlazeMaster, specially engineered CPVC technology from the Lubrizol Corporation, also offers superior ease and speed of installation, with reliable protection at lower material cost and proven performance that won't diminish over time. So, when fire strikes and there are lives and property at risk, trust your reputation to BlazeMaster's fire protection systems. BlazeMaster, delivering reliability for life.
And with that, let's now move forward to another very exciting session on the topic, rethinking building design and engineering in new normal. Now, this stimulating session is being moderated by our very eminent moderator, Shabnam Basi, Fellow and Associate Director, TERI, Secretary, Griha Council. Now, prior to joining TERI, Shabnam had worked with the United Nations Development Programme, and she's worked in close cooperation with the central, state, and municipal bodies to facilitate ECBC integration, develop a framework to strengthen enforcement of ECBC implementation and compliance. Now, joining her, may I also please invite our distinguished speakers in an alphabetical order. We have with us Madhurima Madhav, Scientist D, Civil Engineering, Bureau of Indian Standards. And in her 19 years of work experience, she's worked for Central Road Research Institute and Rights Limited. She's also dealing with National Building Code as a joint member secretary of the concerned technical committee. We're also joined by Samantha Sullivan, Innovation Project Manager, Temprite Lubrizol. Now, she's been at Lubrizol for 7 years and currently serves as Temprite's Innovation Project Manager and North American Sustainability Lead. Through her role, she helps drive innovation to optimize companies' portfolio and also oversees Temprite's top projects. Our next speaker joining us is Sandeep Goel, Director, ProIM Consultants. Now, he comes with more than 25 years of experience of building services consulting experience and has been closely involved in the design, coordination, and innovation of MEP services design of over 100 projects. Our next speaker joining us this afternoon, we have with us Shabir Kanchawala, Senior Vice President, K. Raheja Corp. Now, let me also tell you that he's an experienced top building industry professional with a demonstrated history of working in the real estate sector. So with that, let's also move forward and invite our next speakers as well. Sujal Shah Sheth, Director, New Age Fire Systems. In fact, having worked for over 20 years and being a regular recipient of various export awards from the Export Promotion Councils as well as Gujarat Environment, she plays a vital role in formulating business strategies and effective implementation of the same. Our final speaker for the panel discussion is Tejwant Nawalkar, Executive Director, DFX Systems Private Limited. Having founded DFX Systems Private Limited in 1985, that provides engineering consultancy across building automation, software for customized applications for projects of varied nature, and much more. Tejwant has been involved in design and implementation of SCADA and telemetry systems in water distribution projects. So with that, it's time to bring on board our prolific set of speakers. It's time to indulge in another interesting panel discussion. I'm going to quickly hand over the proceedings to Shabnam to take it forward from here. Over to you.
Let me just unmute. A very good afternoon to all of you. It is such a pleasure to be amongst all of you today evening. I'm really delighted to be part of today's panel. Today's panel is really a very good mix. I have people from the industry, I have people who are from the policy side, and of course from the product manufacturing as well. Just to set things in context, today's topic is quite clear, and I think we all are looking up to how we are going to look at buildings in the coming future. So definitely there is something that we all need to add here, and we all have experienced and are really looking up to the building industry, how we are going to change in the coming times. We all are aware that COVID-19 has affected all communities globally and has affected all kinds of businesses, and it is quite clear that the world is going to look very different as we move beyond COVID-19 crisis to the next normal. As the industry leaders consider navigating, and we look forward to, of course, looking at least these 5 areas for a smooth resolution, and that is resolve, resilience, return, reimagine, and reform. While the government and companies globally are responding fast, but I feel that much remains to be done. In these difficult times, construction matters more than ever. We have seen in the COVID times that right from building hospitals in just a few days to donating life-saving equipments, the industry played a very vital role in responding to the crisis and also in the recovery. But at the same time, we all are aware that industry also suffered. Construction sites in many countries were shut down. Even the sites that were open had disrupted supply chains, and the operational restrictions were always there. Such disruptions have been reflected in the financial indices, and we have seen that the public engineering, construction, building material companies have dropped significantly more than average. In India, if I talk particularly about the Indian scenario, we all are aware that in 2022, we are going to see that the construction industry is expected to register a growth of 10.7%. And this is owing to the fact that the government is going to increase its focus on the infrastructure projects, as well as there is going to be a lot of demand for residential as well as commercial segment post-COVID. A fast return to business, I feel, is quite unlikely. The leaders will have to have that firm idea as to how do they want to respond beyond these COVID times. Beyond the short-term impact, I feel that in the long term, the supply chain is going to get affected quite significantly, and there are serious concerns around that. And what we have also observed that there has been an increased awareness and sensitization towards sustainability, especially within the younger demographic. There has been a subsequent rise in the demand for future-ready buildings as well that protect us against natural disasters, which will provide, for our health and well-being, and at the same time, do not impact the environment. Of course, the cost effectiveness will be kept in mind. Possibly now the time has come that the cutting edge technologies of green building practices can no longer be ignored. The theme that we are going to talk about today, that is rethinking building design engineering for the new normal, is extremely apt, and I feel that it is in tune with the need of the hour. It calls upon action. The construction industry is responding, and at the same time, we are also looking at two challenges right now. One, of course, was the climate change that we were already looking at, and now that adds the another flavor that gets added is this COVID times. Each one of us has valuable contributions in the built environment, and today I will hear all of you how are we preparing ourselves beyond these difficult times. When we speak about responding to the environment, there are essentially two aspects of development that need to be addressed. One, the foremost is decarbonization, and that's the first step to mitigate climate change. And the second, I feel, is the evolution of building technologies and the way we are going to cater to the new normal. So with these initial remarks, I would let my speakers respond to the topic first. So let me start with Ms. Madhurima. If you could, address today's topic and let us know your views on how buildings should respond in the coming times.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, thank you very much, Sapna, for providing this opportunity to speak on this topical subject. Yeah, I very much agree with you. COVID-19 has had both operational and financial impact on the construction industry. It has led to project delays and closure of projects, in many cases, particularly due to force majeure conditions. And it has significantly affected the businesses. These are mainly attributed to the supply chain disruptions, reduced workforce, reduced working hours, and complete lockdown conditions in many cities, and then also challenges in communication, etc. However, I personally consider these as short-term negative impacts. What I personally feel is that COVID has actually brought a significant, or I will say a phenomenal change in the working style at both the client and the industry side. Now, both the sides, they have learned to work with the reduced resources. They have also learned the importance of, efficient planning. And they have also understood that there is a need for, minimizing the overlaps, sequencing of tasks. These are very important to have, better product deliveries, efficient product deliveries. The digitization of processes has also taken place. This has also further improved the productivity. So what I feel that COVID-19, apart from these short-term negative impacts, has also brought in these long-term impacts, which are very positive. And there is a need to, continue this further. And this will lead to the prosperity of this industry. The second opportunity which I feel that this COVID-19 has brought in is the acceptance for the modular coordination and the prefabricated construction. The masses, the country, the adoption, the acceptability of these prefabricated construction, which are relatively new technologies, was not much. But now, when the country has already witnessed that in other countries, the industry has been able to deliver very good, timely deliver very good prefabricated constructions. So what I feel that our Indian standards, we already have Indian standards in place for prefabricated construction, like IS 15916, IS 15917, and IS 11447 for large prefabricated panels. So with the help of these standards, which have design provisions against progressive collapse, testing for joints for water tightness, and prototype testing for dynamic resilience. So this will help industry to deliver very good pre-constructed precast buildings. Also, it will lead to healthier and safer tidy work environments, because all these constructions will be done off-site in factories. So for that, also for precast components, also we have a series of standards like IS 6072 and 73. So this will, I feel that the barriers, it will help us to reduce the barriers and improve the acceptability of prefabricated construction in the country. Secondly, what I feel that now, because of this COVID, the communities, they are ready, they are willing to accept several changes. So we need to grab this opportunity. The policymakers as well as the industry, they should strengthen measures for carbon footprint reduction. According to me, anything which is not durable is not sustainable. And there are massive distraction taking place in the country because of inefficient planning, design, and construction. We have series of Indian standards for, a detailed subsurface investigation, ground improvement techniques. We have updated our standards on foundation designs, on subsurface investigation, on ground improvement techniques. So now these standards, along with the design codes for example, for the tall building, we have recently come out with a standard IS 16700. So all these standards, copious implementation of all these standards together will help in ensuring resilient cities. So this will ensure that the destruction, the loss of life and property because of natural disasters like landslides and earthquakes are reduced. I'm not going to talk much about the need for fire safety in buildings, or about the data centers which need our particular attention during these times, because Mr. Sandeep Goyal, the other panelist, he would be speaking on these aspects. Thirdly, when we talk about sustainability, the another thing which come into my mind is energy efficiency and water efficiency. We already have energy efficient products and water efficient products in the market, but my idea is that along with efficiency, there is a need of ensuring quality of the product, for which there is a very good opportunity for the SMEs at this stage, when the countries are not very keen in importing from China. So it gives an opportunity to SMEs to adopt our standards, implement our standards, Indian standards, which are at par with the international standards. We have recently revised those standards also. On taps, we have IS 8931. We have come out with energy efficient plumbing product standards, IS 17650, part 1 and part 2 in 2021 December itself. So these standards, their copious implementation will ensure help the industry to make their products at par with those being done internationally, and will help them to improve their exports. Thirdly, what I feel is that designs for safer interchange of clean air in the built environment and adoption of passive design features. We have all these provisions in our National Building Code. Then provisioning of on-site renewable sources of energy using solar PVs, use of solar water heating systems, building performance tracking and monitoring using BMS. National Building Code of India in its various parts and sections has covered all these aspects. So the utilization of those provisions, implementation of those aspects will help developing healthier, self-sustaining communities with efficient services. Lastly, if we talk about building construction projects in particular, so the problem of shortage of labor is being faced due to their migration. In the normal, businesses will have to work with staggered timings, and will also have to follow social distancing norm. So amidst this challenge is what I feel that the standards on construction project management, their implementation, we have IS 15883 series, and then we also have standards on welfare requirements for the construction workers. So their implementation will again help the industry to deliver projects timely, within the cost, with quality, and without any compromise on the health, safety, and environment. So these all from the standards perspective, how various Indian standards can help during these tough times. And the new normal should not be taken as a this is my feeling that it is basically had just a short-term negative impact, and it should be taken as a long-term positive opportunity being given through or thrown through by this pandemic. And utilization of these standards will help us create dynamic integrated communities. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madhurima ji. That was quite well articulated, and I think thank you for sharing with us what BIS is looking at and what are the current practices that are being followed in the construction industry, and how we can use this in order to fight the pandemic in a better way. Thank you so much. Let me quickly go to my next speaker, that's Samantha. So Samantha, I will give you the floor, and please feel free to share your views with us.
Thank you, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to discuss today with all of you. As mentioned earlier, I oversee our innovation projects at Lubrizol and Temprate to not only maintain our existing portfolios, but utilize several different innovation processes to identify new potential opportunities to expand those product offerings. So as you can imagine, with everybody else's role, COVID has greatly changed what we're looking at and what we claim as innovation now. When we're looking at the supply shortages and demand, and how do we make sure that we're keeping up with our customer requests and making sure that, as we get new construction and new building opportunities, how are we supplying that and building our portfolio? So it really just comes down to how can we uniquely innovate to overcome these obstacles with our partners. I think, we look at COVID in a negative light, but we can also find positive pieces, as we mentioned earlier, that this gives us a good opportunity to have open and honest conversations with our customers and partners when we're talking about new opportunities in the building industry. It also it could potentially put an emphasis on non-traditional materials. So, I really love how we're talking about sustainability because this is something that is not going away. We usually look at life and we say, what does the future hold? And we think about 10, 20, 30 years down the road, but sustainability is really about how can we improve our buildings today and our living arrangements today to make a better tomorrow. So I think that if we're including, more sustainable conversations into projects that could offer, diverse products moving forward that can help, whether that's energy efficient, water efficiency, reduce carbon footprint. We work in pipe and fittings, and sometimes pipe and fittings is seen as a very small piece of an overall construction of a building when we're looking at carbon footprint. But I think having that conversation up front and showing that, we could be energy efficient, we could help in different ways and reduce your carbon footprint is very important in the long run. Outside of, the actual supply chain constraints that I know everybody is seeing today, we can also talk about the impact on the workforce too. I think, even being in the position we are, when we're talking about how has COVID affected all of us, it's really about, all the people that we've seen that are either out sick or are taking time away, or the emphasis that has been put on remote work. So we're seeing a lot of people accepting of the fact that people are able to work outside of their original workspaces, and we're seeing a lot of empty buildings now. So how do we focus on looking at these empty buildings, keeping them safe? We just saw a really great video on Blaze Master. So, that's a great opportunity to make sure that, if there are empty places that haven't been retrofitted or there's potential opportunities for us to go into that building and make it something new, that in the interim, we're keeping it safe by making sure it's, has the appropriate fire sprinkler systems inside to make sure nothing happens to it. And, when we're talking about how has COVID made us think differently, obviously safety has always been at the forefront of construction design and engineering. But really, I feel that COVID has caused us to become even more hyper-focused on personal safety. We're talking about an environment that is very hands-on and face-to-face. So how can we utilize tools to make sure that we can successfully continue these types of projects while keeping everybody physically, mentally, and emotionally safe during this pandemic? And then, outside of physical development projects, I feel like COVID has created like I said before, a new culture that embraces flexible working. So again, what types of tools can we utilize in the field that allows us to still have that face-to-face interaction, where we're getting new opportunities, where we're helping, whether that's designers or code officials or, what have you, to be able to, continue to do what we'd all do best. So really, I really want to end on focusing on how important the sustainability trend is going to be and is right now. I feel like in North America, we're talking about it, but a lot of the things are, it's not important to us now, or we'll get to it soon. But I feel like the more that we talk about how important sustainability is in terms of building green buildings and making sure that we're reducing carbon footprints, the better we will be set up for the future. And I feel like COVID has opened the door for us to have those more open and honest conversations about sustainability. So I personally am excited about that moving forward. So like I said, really, I feel like a big sustainability play right now, but I am really much looking forward to that and what the future holds there. And thank you very much again for the opportunity. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks, Samantha. And that's quite interesting because I really feel that, as we are innovating and as the demand for sustainable products is increasing, there is an ever bigger challenge to provide it at a cost that is acceptable and at a cost that has a payback period that one can sustain. So definitely we are going to talk more about how innovations can bring a change in this time. But I'll quickly go to the next speaker and understand from Sandeep as to how we are going to tackle in the coming times. And when we talk about especially in terms of consultancies, the MEP consultants, how challenging will it be for us post-COVID?
Thank you, Ms. Pasi. Am I audible, please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. I think I completely echo with one point, which I made a specific note, what Ms. Madhurima said, that we should look at the positive impact of what has happened in the new normal. I'll tell you something, the kind of experience which as consultants we have had, it was very difficult in the initial phase of it. A couple of my clients called us and they told us that, what's your approach to work from home? And I said, we have no clue. Everything is locked down. We are also watching movies at home. So as life comes, we can't do anything about it. And we found it an excuse not to work, let me tell you, in the initial phases. And we thought, but then some of the people were very motivating. He said, look, this doesn't work like this. You have to be on the ground. And with some motivational talk, I think we put up things together. We were online with about 90% of our technical staff, delivering with 80% of efficiency within 1 week's time. Everybody, I should appreciate, it's very easy to criticize you, since we are the ownership part of it, it's very easy to criticize and say people are not working. I think our people were very excited. Of course, there was a fear of what is going to be happening, but to keep your mind diverted, the best way was to work and to engage yourself in work and to be happy about the productivity which you can bring onto the table. I think that's the only way you could have distracted your attention in the negative zone which was going. Let me tell you, in consulting, we use a tool which is known as BIM or Revit, so called. We were being pushed again across the wall, saying that by the time the site is stopped, things are not moving ahead. Why don't we start doing Revit modeling in a very serious note? To start working in clash analysis, sitting at our homes, visualizing the whole project on 3D, and try to do things with which, when the site starts, we are able to compensate for whatever we have lost. We invested heavily in BIM in those days. We got the training. My staff started working in training, in receiving the training from 7 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock in the morning. 10 o'clock onwards, everybody was online. They started doing the works. Within 4 months, we became pretty BIM, compliant. And as things proceeded further, and it has been a long journey in the COVID times, I'm so happy to tell you that we have really accelerated ourselves to the next level of deliveries, when now 60% of our projects have moved towards BIM. And the kind of opportunity we have had is that we are able to consider to add more technology to our understanding. Clashes at the sites have been addressed, working in-house on the computer, now working in office, and making sure that we have lesser challenges at the site. BIM has been a great tool for consultants. It has been time that we should have adopted that technology, but we were compelled, and there are many things which happens under compulsion. Data centers have been another challenging, and as we know, bandwidths have picked up, things are moving further. We worked very closely with Bureau of Indian Standards to also improvise the codes. So the new normal, which we really call, is a very, very satisfying phase which we are now going through, because we have all the capability, we have all the understanding of what to do and what not to do. Technologies on our side, precast technologies have been adopted into our projects. We worked on a lot of codes, standards, the way the technology which we actually adopted during the COVID times is enhancing our performance today. I've got many examples. We have worked on water conservation features because water consumption in the projects was increasing. You know, all of us know, we used to come back home, have a bath, then get back to the regular routine. All those things in practical life were asking us more energy, more water. So doing the things more smartly in the new normal will now give us better results, as things will getting to be a world with lesser COVID or a mild COVID scenario in times to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very useful. And yes, you're right that this has been a very stressing time for all of us. We have coped up, through our work, and we are still doing it. And this is a true depiction that, we are on an online platform today and we are still able to manage work. And this clearly shows that, times have changed, and now we are moving into a time that more and more.
But see, I'll just take half a minute more. The best thing has been our carbon footprint has reduced. My clients are calling me 30% less in meetings what they used to call me earlier. And my travel has gone down. I can spend more time with my family. I can reduce my carbon footprint, and the dependency on technology has become immensely pleasure. So I would be meeting so many colleagues here whom I will now look forward to meet in future in person, but at least we have become friends and colleagues on a virtual platform, and it's very gratifying, I would say. So sorry, Ms. Basi, but I wanted to bring in this point of reducing carbon footprint.
That's quite useful, because I think we all will admit that, working from home was not easy initially. But as we started working and as we started putting things into place, I think we all started realizing that these systems are much better, and I think we can be more productive. And, as you rightly said, that reduction of carbon footprint was one of the major, benefits that one could say we could achieve through this crisis. Thank you so much. So now I would quickly go to my next speaker, Mr. Shabir. I think I will quickly like to hear your comments on today's topic.
Yeah, so as developers, K-Raja Corp, the way we looked at doing things differently in the COVID scenario was a lot of re-innovation, what we called. We started working on the concept of re-innovating, and we came up with the principle of doing touchless mantra in design and execution. So whether we need to redesign our home to include an office in a 2.5 BHK, or we need to ensure that my commercial leasing customer, when he enters my office, it's going to be touchless all the way till the time he reaches his workstation. So when he goes to the lift, he's able to use the swipe of his hand to call the lift. When he enters the lift, he's able to speak out the number of the floor, and he enters the particular floor, and then including water from touchless taps or the napkin which flows with the flow of hand. So that was the whole focus on ensuring that my commercial leasing IT customers get back in a way which is safe and good for them. As K-Raja Corp, we have the largest green building footprint in the country in terms of doing work of around 1.5 crore square feet per construction per year. And all our buildings, whether they are homes or IT buildings or malls or hotels, are at least gold certified, either from the US Green Building Council or the Indian Green Building Council. So that is something which we have worked on. We were the first ones in India to start doing that in 2007, 2008, when people thought we were crazy to spend the extra cost in making sustainable buildings. But I guess that the COVID scenario kind of gave a fillip to the fact that people want to work in an office which is sustainable. They want the son to go into a green school, and they want to go through a green metro. So all that kind of gave a fillip to promoting healthier lifestyle spaces. So the acceleration towards sustainability really helped, and both in design and healthier living. So we also work very closely with the WELL standard in ensuring that our buildings follow the the well protocol of healthy living. So that kind of helped both my residential and commercial customers in taking this forward. So we are now looking at the whole concept of the fact that how do we do this all the time, right? All the time is something, because this is a new normal, whether we like it or not. There is going to be a hybrid working which is going to happen, because my commercial customers are all IT. So they are probably, in all due respect, will move towards a hybrid working. So that's the way to go. And residential customers or my hotels, which also have stepped up in ensuring the safety of the guests who stay in them. So there are many firsts which we try to do in terms of ensuring that what we do as a reputed developer, been in this business since 1956. We looked at various things in terms of what I just mentioned. Of course, there was supply chain, and there are still supply chain disruptions which are happening in terms of ensuring that the projects get completed in time. The laborers who stay in our particular labor colony have to be of a certain standard, and we are happy to say that when Prince Charles visited Mumbai, he kind of gave us a thumbs up when he visited our labor colony at Mahalakshmi, Mumbai. So we fully understand that COVID is here to stay, and we need to ensure disruptions, which, whether it is the material price, the freight cost, which has gone crazy, steel and cement costs, the manpower costs, and the fuel costs. So taking that forward, design parameters will also need to take into consideration all these factors, because at the end of the day, we need to develop a product which is both affordable and sustainable for the common man. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Yes, I think the most affected industry has been the real estate sector, and I can completely relate to this, because the kind of response that we get for our projects in Griha, we definitely know that there is a big slowdown, and the industry is trying to come back. But with this current model of being on hybrid mode, this becomes even more challenging. Like the mantra you just spelled, that touchless mantra that you had for your projects, that probably is going to be the new normal now. And definitely for the times to come, we are going to look at even more technologies that are going to be supportive of this. Thank you so much, Mr. Shabib. I'll quickly go to Sujal Shah, and then I'll go to my next speaker, and then we'll start our discussions today. Thank you. Yes, Sujal, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, organizers, for having me here. My fellow panelists, they spoke about building redesign and reducing carbon footprints, green buildings, new engineering concepts, etc. However, coming from the background of fire and safety, I would like to go back to the basics of fire safety and its importance, as I believe we lack a big time over there. No matter how much advancements we bring in the building designs and engineering them, unless the bars have not been raised amongst not only the audience here, but the entire country with regards to the fire safety, the norms shall only remain in the books or in theories. Stay safe. I am sure everybody has heard this phrase. You know, it has almost become a stock phrase for us. We use this in our everyday lives while signing off an email or during our chat conversation or like waving goodbye to anybody. We say stay safe. Do we really understand the actual meaning of stay safe apart from COVID? As in, yes, COVID has led us to much heightened safety concerns, but what about fire and safety? Although we put in a lot of efforts to control the pandemic in past 2 years, the country still faces many other long-standing challenges when it comes to improving the health, safety, and well-being of the population. One of these ongoing challenges is improving fire safety standards in workplaces, public buildings, and homes. I believe it is high time we did something on that front as well. Let us take a moment here. Now that things are pretty much normal on the COVID front and people have started going out and all, let us imagine a situation where we go to a restaurant for having a dinner, or maybe we go to a hotel for a conference. Hypothetically speaking, while attending the conference or while going to have a dinner, if there is fire and the hall or the room goes dark and it starts filling with smoke, how would you respond? While entering the premise, were you conscious enough to look for and register the fire exit signs or the fire exit doors, etc.? Did you really care where the refuge area would be in that particular building? The typical acceptable evacuation time to relatively safe place in low risk places is 3 minutes, and for high risk places, it is 2 minutes. So imagine closing your eyes because it is dark and you cannot see. And also imagine holding your breath at the same time because you absolutely cannot inhale smoke. And then being able to reach to a safe place at some unknown hotel, probably the one you are visiting for the first time. What are the odds? If you are able to virtually visualize yourself in such a situation and understand the horror of the same, I am sure you understand the importance of fire and safety in any building. Speaking about the current scenario in India, each year a huge number of lives and assets worth billions are lost in fire accidents in India. Several fire audits have stated that majority of the commercial establishments or the residential properties, they lack proper compliance with basic fire prevention norms. And let us be very clear here that we have all the safety standards, compliances or norms in place. We are not lacking on that front at all. Where we are lacking is the implementation of these norms. The norms are pretty stringent, but we have, a very casual approach to the implementation of these things. And it goes for the residential sector as well. So question arises, why is the scenario such? Why do we lack proper fire compliance systems in India? So basically, I think first and foremost reason of this is that fire protection market in India is extremely fragmented. It is hugely unorganized with strong regional presence. So this creates absence of proper implementation of the stringent norms. And there are only a few players with pan-India presence in the fire protection market. Most Indian companies consider that fire and safety, spending on fire and safety is unproductive and fruitless exercise. Not to mention that market is also flooded with counterfeit products. There are a lot of cheap imports coming in from China and other countries. For example, BIS standard for hydrant valves. Hydrant valve is a very basic equipment, when it comes to active fire protection system. So the BIS standard for hydrant valve, it permits the usage of stainless steel grades 304 and 316. However, there are a lot of instances where people tend to cut corners and use cheaper grade of stainless steel. I mean, 202 is not an acceptable grade of stainless steel to be used for fire protection. However, it is highly used, and it would never be, it would never be helpful in the time of actual hazard because it is highly corrosive. Probably if you use a 202 valve and after 6 months if you try to use it, it won't be of any help. You cannot use it for sure. So in such cases, quality control measures goes for a toss. And this is all because of unawareness of people. They are not aware of importance of fire safety. And to add fuel to the fire, we entered into the COVID era. So when we entered into the COVID era, I mean, things change, the priorities changed, the way people looked at things, the way people perceived the environment, way people thought where they should spend and where they shouldn't. Everything changed. So COVID actually brought in a lot of financial and operational impact on a lot of things, and fire and safety was no exception in this particular time. So due to COVID, the prices of raw materials, mainly bronze, aluminum, steel, these are the materials which are used in most of the equipments for firefighting, and the prices, they skyrocketed, and thus it caused a lot of trouble to the site owners or the contractors, etc. When the budget doesn't permit, many owners compromise on fire and safety systems due to lack of the awareness of importance of it. Maintenance of the existing systems has also been majorly ignored during the pandemic times, or some contractors have been doing remote maintenance, which can affect the quality of work. Now, the panel here is aware that maintenance of fire protection system is not something which can be done remotely. Your physical presence is required. So planned preventive fire maintenance is very important. Having a fire system in place is not the end of the story. It has to be in 100% working condition when needed, which occupants sometimes, they do not really care. So considering all of these things, building redesign, we are right now talking about building redesign. So buildings need to be designed to offer an acceptable level of fire safety and minimize the risk from heat and smoke. This is very important while we talk about building redesign from the fire and safety point of view. The primary objective is to reduce the potential for death or injury to the occupants of a building, also to minimize damages, and for the building to continue to function as much as possible even after the fire. Points that need consideration from fire safety angle while redesigning buildings in the new normal are very important. We realize that the intersection between public health and built environment is very important. Things like air ventilation, refuge areas, fire compartmentation, evacuation times from protected areas, protected rooms for delayed evacuation, fire doors, etc. All these things became, these things I believe are going to take a major turn. They are going to be very, very important in coming times. This is what COVID has taught us. Even the contactless design and technology. This attracts development of a lot of warehouses and data centers, as Mr. Sandeep Goyal rightly said. So a lot of re-engineering needs to be done over there. We need to think on environmentally sustainable and distinctive smart material on exterior cladding and facades, even the surface finishes. These are the things which needs to be taken care of for proper fire and safety systems. Some of the other emerging trends would be, we have new sources of energy like lithium-ion batteries. We use them in our cars now. So battery storage technologies needs to be considered, as new energies come with new hazards. So we will have to have something on this front as well. This is a very new concept, and people don't really know if there is a fire on a lithium-ion battery, how to extinguish it. IoT-based applications for smart detection, notification, automatic fire suppression, etc. Since there is a lot of data into question, new applications will be are needed for data analysis, remotely monitored building security systems, robotic firefighting systems, electronic activated sprinklers. This is going to be the next thing in new normal. Mass notification systems, articulated boom tower fire engines, or maybe even smoke control systems for proper ventilation and all. We understood that ventilation is going to be very important post COVID. So considering all of these things, let us take a moment again and let us go back to the same situation where we were stuck before 2 minutes. Now, if we go back and imagine the same situation in the conference room or in the hotel room, after adoption of all these new concepts that we have been talking about right now, so the active as well as passive fire systems are in place, and they are also compliant to the standards, and they are well maintained. You have received a notification, you are there in the conference room, you are stuck, and you have to safeguard yourself. So you have received a notification on your cell phone about the fire and the fire evacuation plan. You are intimated that fire services are on the way. The fire department is also informed using the IoT applications in place, and they would arrive shortly and they would start the evacuation as well. The automatic fire suppression systems have been automatically activated. The smoke curtains and the fire curtains, they have dropped down. They have compartmented the open spaces, thereby containing the further spread of fire and smoke. The smoke exhausters have been wirelessly enabled too. So, you can imagine, I mean, if you are able to see all the fire exit signs clearly and visibly, even in the dark, and you are able to safeguard yourself to a refuge area. I mean, this would be such a, better place or such a safer thing to happen with us. And then this is, I mean, this can go on and on. I can go on and on because of the mass communication systems or because of the IoT or because of the highly technical fire engines, etc. Of course, in any event of fire, we would be seeing a better result, a better outcome, and we would all be in much safer and secure place. Thank you so much. Stay fire safe.
Stay safe. I think the mantra that you just rightly mentioned, that is something that we completely ignore when we design buildings or when we look at our own safety, and something that we don't want to look at, when we are looking at other parameters, of sustainability. But this definitely is taking the center stage now, because now people are looking at buildings, designing it in such a way that they can take care of disasters of the future. Thank you so much for your inputs, and that's really helpful. I'll quickly go to my last speaker, Mr. Tejwant, and I'll have his quick comments on today's topic.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Basi, and thank Lubrizol and Reality Plus for giving me this opportunity to express my views on this topic, which is COVID-19, the new normal. So a lot of my colleague panelists have spoken about various aspects of COVID. That leaves me being the last speaker with I'm like the last man, 11th person, trying to complete the formalities. But basically, I would like to throw in a few aspects which are not covered, because we are all aware of it. What COVID-19 and pandemic has taught us is to take a step back and, sort of look back and think. We've got enough time to look around and think, and it's this whole cliche that I wanted it yesterday and I wanted it the day before. All that becomes hogwash, because when there is COVID, there is no yesterday, we don't know when tomorrow is. So it has taught us to be a little patient and taught us to sort of take things in the right perspective. Secondly, it has also taught us how to look at sustainability, because we have been beating our drums. I have been working on green buildings and intelligent buildings, and from that day onwards, to sustainable buildings and green net zero and now net positive buildings. People were taking it as, okay, somebody next door can do it. I'm not the one required to do it. But today, he's given that we've got a chance to see how can I cut my costs. Where are the opportunities? I am already operating at 98% efficiency because I'm a very modern multinational company. But how do I increase my profitability in this coming days? So that has given me this task to look at it and embrace sustainability. Second thing it has taught me is, that looking at air quality is very critical, because we now are conscious that we are not contacting people, making physical contact, maintain differences. And even some of my clients have now gone in for air conditioning duct cleaning, robotic cleaning, because of the thing when we have been talking to them about it for the last maybe 15-20 years. But today they are keen to do it because they know that there is probably a fear of virus hiding in that dark alley there and bouncing upon you when you are least expecting it. So this is something which has opened their eyes to things which we have been trying to drum in. Another point that is of relevance is that people thought that absence, whenever people ask for a leave during normal times before pandemic, people were always told, oh, but this project is coming up, but that project is coming on, that is to be delivered. Today, people have embraced working from home quite competently, especially for the female, the girl and the women section. It has become a boon because they can work from home, because that is now going to be an accepted norm. So it gives them that added benefit of working from home. Today we are talking of women empowerment. We are talking of women. That is the basis, the platform on which we are talking about. This has opened up an avenue for people, women, to work from home, and it has been embraced quite comfortably. And people realize, yes, we can do complex designs. And as Sandeep said, BIM, that is Building Information Modeling, has helped in sort of visualizing beforehand the problems that are likely to come up at site. But importantly, all this we have all seen and heard. All my other panelists have talked about supply chain disruption, prices hike, and so on and so forth. But the important message that comes out of it is that there is uncertainty in the stop and start of a business. You start today,
and after about a week again there are some cases coming up, you stop again, start and stop, which means there is it, you know, when you look at a motor car or a motor, anything which starts and stops like that, there is a fatigue coming into play. And as a mechanical engineer, I can only talk of fatigue, but that is what sets in, and that destroys uh, the fabric of that equipment or the society or whatever we are talking about. So effectively people are now have to be prepared. How do we take care of the start stop? Secondly, how do we get the competent people online? Because people have gone out, my expert welders, my expert fitters, they've all gone to their hometown. So how do I work with the new things? So in spite of BIM having solved most of my problems, there are physically practical problems or errors created at site. How do I tackle that? Now, this is a classic example where we face this problem, because I come in the unfortunate category of being 50 plus. So during the initial stages of COVID, we were not allowed. I mean, we were reluctant to go to site because of very obvious reasons. And still I had my client to be satisfied. My client was almost 80% of his building was complete, 20% remaining. Some air conditioning duct was fouling with something else. Now, what was the way out? So what we did therefore is, now people were aware and confident of the technology of video. So we said, okay, let me walk through WhatsApp. So the site engineer was a raw freshie, because we could, whoever was available, hands on deck type of stuff. The ship is sinking, all hands to board on the deck, to the board. So anybody was available who could do little bit of welding was brought on site. So, but point is, how do you guide him? There was nobody to guide, nobody senior enough to guide him. So we went through the exercise of guiding him through the WhatsApp. From images, in fact, I got a closer view, because when he went to site, I obviously could not climb up those steep sort of half constructed buildings. It was a risky affair for us. So, but this gave me a great opportunity. The young 20 plus ones could climb up, jump up, show me the close up of the snag, and I could even give him a decent enough solution. So what is happening is that this is something where I feel that we have to now take the next step, because everybody has talked about design, sustainability. That is, to me, yes, it has got to be done. There is nothing new about it, whether pandemic or no pandemic. Sustainability is the thing. The climate change is not going to wait for a pandemic or whatever. It's going on. It's going to happen. So that is I think a non-disputable, non-negotiable act of design. But importantly, what I have found is that very often we neglect the site, the actual people who translate your dreams into realities. They are the ones who are not even aware of what is green. You talk about green for this, green that, green sustainability, envelopes are have to be so and so and so forth. Lights have to be good. But the guy at site who's doing the maintenance and execution, he's not aware of your intent. How many of you have actually talked to the mechanic or the technician at site and I told him what is green? So in fact, we've been conducting some, sort of continuing education programs under the banner of ISHRE, where we are trying to bring in the maintenance people. So it is green maintenance, we are calling it, making them aware as to what is involved in green. They know green. Green means what? Only paint green? No, it's not paint green. It's actually very many factors which they are not even aware of. So because they are just following instructions. But our maintenance manuals, our OEM maintenance characters do not, even your BIS standards are not entirely open about how to maintain a particular thing. How often should I maintain a motor? How much often should I grease? How much should I, sort of overall? When is it time to replace? Those are factors which are not taken in that. They are not aware of sustainability. And they are the ones on whom we are dependent for sustainability. I design the building and go away and say, hope the building lasts for 50 years. Whatever innovation, IoT, etc. I do, it is not going to last unless the guy at the site is able to understand the importance of certain things. Very often I have seen, if you look at the air conditioning system, we install what you call, the dirty air filter status, that when the filter is choked up, I should get a signal. Now the maintenance guy, he says every time this damn bell rings, keeps ringing now and then, every 1 week I keep getting this ping ping. So what have I done? I've disconnected it. So beautiful. His problem is solved. He sleeps in peace. But problem is that the entire purpose of that device is totally lost. So I feel now the time has come to, when you are rethinking of design alone, we should talk of constructing buildings. We should talk about how do you build buildings in the new normal. We have to take advantage of the various
insights that we have got, and the acceptance of so many things from the owners to the various stakeholders are actually have sort of bought into this. So we must take advantage of this. Like it's like hitting the iron when it is hot. Take advantage of it. Make use of the technology. Fortunately, technology is stabilizing. Electronics is getting cheaper. A lot of people are getting into the Make India movement. A lot of devices are going to be constructed, will be constructed, fabricated, made in India, and we should take advantage and start moving towards tackling the mass at the site, which is never going to be ever fully educated, or fully, no, I wouldn't say educated, I'm sorry, fully aware of what is expected of them at site. So that's the senior people who are at back end can actually take advantage to go to the site virtually. So if BIM and this can collaborate, if I have my BIM on my table side by side the actual videos, I can correlate much easier and walk through in a more organized or a defined manner, rather than, because when a typically when a building is constructed, it's a maze, column to column. You really can't distinguish which column am I. I mean, today, even after 30 years, I'm generally lost in a basement. So effectively, if I have a BIM model and the reality more superimposed, some sort of a platform like this available to us as stakeholders in building thing, it would help in sort of solving a lot of the problems and really make it sustainable in the true sense, not on paper, but in practical reality, where if all 7 wonders of the world can last 500 years, 600 years without any green building certification, I think we can do 100 times better with all the modern technology, codes, and the experience that we have. I think this is my take on the subject.
I think it was wonderful hearing everyone's views and kind of having views on various aspects, from fire safety to awareness among all the stakeholders. The developers' point of view from Mr. Shabir, and the Terry, how the guidelines for green buildings, and in fact all the solution provider from Samantha and Madhurima about how the standards are now keeping pace with the new technologies, and from Sandeep how things are happening. We'll take some questions that we have got. One question very interesting that has come up is, what is that one word that sums up your prediction of where design is headed? Shabir, will like to start from you. What do you think that, what is your one word? How do you sum up where design is headed?
Okay, that's interesting. It's the first time somebody can put design in one word, but I guess
that's a fun sentence.
Yeah. So design in one word, we'll have to re-innovate. The re-innovation is the key in the post-COVID era, or the ongoing COVID era. Even otherwise, design needs to be also practical for any developer to be able to construct and sell or lease. Because I would like to build the Taj Mahal in a remote corner of the country, but will I be able to sell it at the price which is getting commanded, or will it get leased at a rent which is affordable? Thank you.
Practical and sustainable innovation, with what Mrs. Shabir Kanchwala is saying. Ms. Basi, how do you react to that? What according to you would be that one word or one sentence that where design is headed?
I think comfort and affordability is something that the coming designs will have to largely look into, because the mantra is that, because we are going to be working mostly in the hybrid mode now, so comforts will play a very major role now. And definitely that should come at a cost that's affordable. So I think these are the two key words that I will, use for the coming up constructions.
So convenience, but at an affordable cost. From a solution provider aspect, Samantha, what do you have to say? What is where the design is headed? What is your one sentence or word for that?
I would say accessibility. So we can think of accessibility in a lot of different terms. Accessible for remote work, accessible for high-speed internet, accessible for sustainable solutions.
Okay, so accessibility, I think that's a very good word. Accessibility to all, in fact, through to all segments of the society. Even if we have innovation, if it is affordable, it needs to penetrate all segments of the society to be accessible, to be used and be functional. Madhurima, your view on that? What's your where design is headed, where engineering is headed?
I think it should head towards the 4 pillars of safety. That is structural safety, fire safety, public safety, health safety, and along with it, it should ensure sustainability and accessibility.
Sujal, you'd been talking about fire safety, but in terms of when we are planning our buildings, as you said, let's be safe. So where do you think the design is headed now? What is your prediction? Where our designs are going to be?
I think everything is interconnected. So, connectivity would mean, it would make a lot of sense speaking about fire safety or sustainability or anything. Yeah. So connectivity is where
connected idea. So it has to connect all the ideas that our speakers are saying, whether it is sustainability, accessibility, affordability, innovation, and safety. Everything will have to be connected. So we need to connect the dots. Sandeep, how do you connect the dots? Where the the design and engineering is headed?
Sapna, my word in last 24 years has never changed. You can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So my word in last 24 years has remained the same, and that word I very proudly follow and feel. And I am a follower, very strong follower of a word known as commitment. You see, if you have a commitment for your society, for your family, for your client, you will surpass everything to do and bring that comfort, affordability, as all my good colleagues have said. The government made a commitment for vaccine, and we have it. You made a commitment of doing a good session, we have it. Madhurima ji makes a commitment of compliances and codes, she does that. So I think I should be committed first to my family, to my client, to my society. That's the best way to serve, I would say so.
That's right. So commitment is the word from Mr. Sandeep Goyal, that unless you don't have the commitment, you will not be able to fulfill all the other predictions that we have. Mr. Tejwant Navalkar, what do you think where the design is headed? Where we had spoken about change in mindset in our earlier session. So where are we headed now?
Headed is one thing, where I want it headed is another thing. So there are two things actually. What I want to head it is, it should be keep it simple and keep it maintainable. And the other thing is, my tagline is, live in design in harmony with nature. To be in harmony with nature. That is important. Then sustainability follows. Everything else follows. If you're in harmony with nature, everything falls in place. I think that is the most important thing.
That's right. So harmony with nature and keep it simple is what Mr. Tejwant is saying. One last question from everyone: which is the most underrated idea according to you? Which we asked from our other panel, and again we have got the same question: what is the most underrated idea in building development? Let's start from our women speaker, Samantha. What, according to you, is the most underrated idea in building developments?
I know we keep saying it, and it's I don't want it to be a buzzword, but I think the most underrated is sustainability. How do we make sustainable buildings by, we're saying you're going to have to pay this upfront cost to make something for a long-term investment and long-term benefits. So how do we sell that? So I really think that that's my words for sure.
Okay, so we are still not giving it that due importance when we are looking at our buildings. Mr. Kanchwala, you are completely focused on sustainability in your projects, in your approach. So what, according to you, is the most underrated idea?
See, I guess I agree with Samantha, because less than 10% of the buildings in this country are actually looking at sustainable seriously. Because the balance 90% for the kind of GDP growth which we want is just not happening. So after COVID, a lot of developers are looking at sustainability, but you need to look at wholesome sustainability. You don't want to give a lip service by providing a garden. Providing a garden on the rooftop or on a podium does not make it into a green, sustainable building. So you need to go all the way to implement the green sustainable measures.
Right. Madhurima, what Mr. Shabir Kanchwala said, that Samantha said sustainability is still underrated. Mr. Kanchwala is saying most of the developers or most of the companies, they go for the low-hanging fruits when they talk about sustainability. What, according to you, is the most underrated idea, or do you agree with our other speakers?
I think that the most underrated idea is the accessibility. I don't understand why it is felt that it is meant only for a particular section for the society. This is to benefit all. So I feel that it should not be taken as a charity being done, and barrier-free design needs to be incorporated in the buildings.
Okay, so when we are talking about sustainability on green buildings, it does not mean for only the particular segment. It has to go to the bottom of the pyramid. It's for them as well. Ms. Basi, do you agree with that? Sustainability, accessibility.
I completely agree with all the speakers, but additionally, I would like to say that the social aspects of sustainability are completely underrated. When we look at the aspects of labor safety, and and we look at how they are doing on the sites, I think that is one aspect that we should look at, and we'll have to pay a lot of heed, and that is how we are going to grow in future.
That's right. So let's not forget about the people who are working on sites. When we are talking about sustainability, we are talking about environmental hazards and health and wellness. So it needs to penetrate that level as well. Mr. Goyal, what do you have to add to that? What is the most underrated idea in our development, design and development?
I would say I have not experienced it much, but I've heard a lot about it. And that is what is known as compliances. I've been fortunate in many, many years. I've not met one chairman of a group which says, make a shortcut. The only thing is that as a design team, if you don't give the right advice at the right time, then there are problems which come later at part of the day. There's a meeting ongoing in my office. I have the senior management sitting here. He says, Sandeep, ask us for the moon. But after 2 years, don't tell us that you have not asked us what you should have asked us. Don't assume. Right. So I think people are very specific about compliances, but I hear that people want to take a shortcut. I'm still to meet those people who want to take a shortcut at the cost of somebody else's safety compromise.
That's good for you. You have not met those people yet. So great. So Jal, your this thing, what is the most underrated idea?
I think I went on for like 10 minutes about fire and safety, and I really
we are still not giving that enough importance. Okay. Yes. So fire safety, Sujal is completely passionate about that. We are still not, taking it very seriously. Mr. Tejwant, your closing remark, your one word. Yeah. What is the most underrated idea?
Yeah, and I have in my talk itself, I have mentioned the one underrated factor is about maintenance. People who maintain. Mm-hmm. Look at a 5-star hotel. Where does the chief engineer sit? In the basement. Look at a hospital, the chief engineer, where does he sit? The basement. That reflects the mental attitude of the people owning the building, that they are not important enough, So my point is, the take is that the maintenance of a building is the one which will give you the sustainability, not the designers. Designers, yes, but the people who will actually make it work for you, sustain for you, are the people who are going to maintain it. And they have to be given due respect and a position in the hierarchy in the organization, where they are also treated with the same respect that the people who are fronting the organization as well.
That's right. Given the life cycle of a building from 15 to 20 years, it is the maintenance which will keep it running. Correct. And if we are talking about green buildings, many a times that we have seen is that the green features, like Mr. Tejwandi also mentioned, that they are not maintained or they are not in functioning. So the entire purpose of a green building is defeated. True. So I think very interesting panel discussion, very varied views about the the entire aspects of the entire ecosystem of our design and engineering. Kavya, we have got from our panel members, and Ms. Basi, she kind of brought all the aspects from all our speakers in a very fantastic way. So thank you so much, Kavya. I hand it over to you now.
Thank you, Sapna. In fact, I would love to thank Shabnam and all the panelists, because we managed to gather some interesting nuggets of insights, dynamic perspectives, each one from your respective expertise and experience. And I think it sets the tone for the future as well. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And on that dynamic note, ladies and gentlemen, let's march ahead, because it's time to move forward towards our next segment of the program. That's right. As we get ready for the very special segment of today's proceedings, we have an eminent personality joining us to share her valuable views with us today. But meanwhile, do remember to tag us on our social media handles @RP Realty Plus on Facebook, @RP Realty Plus on Twitter, and RP_Realty on Instagram. Also, don't forget to keep sharing your inspiring moment from today's event using the hashtag Lubrizol WOV 2022. I repeat, hashtag Lubrizol WOV 2022. And please tag us @FlowGuard Plus on Facebook and Instagram. And Lubrizol CPVC on LinkedIn. Now, let me tell you why. The reason is because 3 lucky winners will get exciting brand hampers from Lubrizol. So please go out there and participate right now. With that, it's truly my delight and honor to welcome Ms. Cherry Aspelin, Vice President HR and Chief Diversity Officer, the Lubrizol Corporation. Now, her commitment, in fact, we can see the fact that Cherry Aspelin leads Lubrizol's commitment for diversity and inclusion as the first Chief Diversity Officer. She's a tireless advocate for culture, diversity, and inclusion at Lubrizol, and she continues to advance the company's pledge to embrace and embed diversity and inclusion across Lubrizol's workforce, culture, systems, as well as processes. She joined Lubrizol in 2015 as a talent management partner for operations. And in 2017, she took the lead in designing and implementing the Accountable Culture Program and has been spearheading the culture journey ever since. Well, I do believe that she's not able to join us live, but we do have her video message. So let's take a look at this beautiful, special video message.
Hello, my name is Cherie Aspelin, and I am the Chief Diversity Officer for the Lubrizol Corporation. I'm so excited to be joining you via video for the Women of Vision Awards. As you may know, International Women's Day is March 8th, and this year's theme is Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. And sustainability is such a key topic and one that I know is being covered in this event because environmental change affects all. But unfortunately, there are more negative effects and challenges for the most vulnerable. I really applaud the women we're celebrating today for their work to ensure better life outcomes for those most vulnerable. In Lubrizol, we're committed to evolving our culture in a way that leverages and celebrates diversity, equity, and inclusion. This applies to all industries and markets we serve around the world, but really want to focus us here today and celebrate the work that we're doing around the building and construction markets. And so the Women of Vision is a great place to make sure we celebrate accomplishments and also continue to be focused on the future of creating better outcomes for those who are the most vulnerable. Inclusion and diversity and equity are very important in Lubrizol, and we've, in the past few years, reset our strategy and approach. The new strategy we're focusing on makes sure that we include ownership of our work around inclusion, diversity, and equity for all employees in the organization, that we're measuring our progress towards our goals, and that we're also embedding what we do into our systems and processes. So inclusion, diversity, and equity just become a way that we work. We've recently launched inclusive leadership workshops for all of our people managers around the globe, and we have a very active internal social network through Yammer that leverages about 4,000 to 5,000 employee engagements every month in sharing messages, learnings, and advocating for those who are underrepresented in our organization. We have Employee Resource Group, which provide great experiences and awareness so we can understand the different life experiences of those employees around the globe. And we have also created a Global Diversity and Inclusion Council that focuses on business issues related to inclusion, diversity, and equity, and actually seeks to find ways that inclusion can help us to solve big business problems. And we're seeing great effects there. We've also included a approach toward inclusion that is about advocacy, and so we have about 150 inclusion advocates from around the globe. In particular, in India, we've done quite a bit of work to approach diversity and inclusion with specific local challenges in mind. For example, targets have been set for representation of women in leadership, and there are also plans underway to ensure a broad range of generations of employees have positive experiences in our workplaces. In India, we've participated in LGBTQ awareness, and we're absolutely involved in the communities and where we operate to ensure that we're uplifting our neighbors and helping to support their needs. We encourage advocacy, self-reflection, and giving from all of our employees around the globe, and we know that inclusion, diversity, and equity are great places for us to be involved, not only internally with our own employees, but externally out in those communities where we operate as well. But today, we're here to focus on our Women of Vision. I was so impressed as I read the profiles of those who are being celebrated today. They're showing innovation in design, engineering, entrepreneurship, fire protection, architecture, access to safe toilets. Those are just a few of the accomplishments of the women that we're celebrating today, and it shows their work is focused on ensuring that the most vulnerable are able to have an increased and enhanced life experience, which is all wrapped up and very well associated with our sustainability message. The work of these women and the organizations that support them to really provide tools and resources and development will not only ensure a more sustainable today, but a more sustainable future. And we applaud and thank you for your efforts for making this world a better place. Thank you so much.
That was a very passionate message there from Sherry, and it's absolutely beautiful to hear those wonderful and positive thoughts coming in. And with that, what we're going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, on that very, very wonderful note, we are about to march ahead towards our next segment of the program. I'd like to once again thank Sherry for that very inspiring and motivating address. And I'm sure that all our members of the audience managed to get some valuable takeaways from her experience and her expertise. With that, looks like it's time to move on to the much awaited segment of the evening, the Women of Vision Awards 2022, presented by the Lubrizol Corporation. Now, these award felicitations celebrate the tremendous efforts by women from across segments of Indian construction and building materials industry in shaping a more equal future through their own courage and pioneering efforts. These awards are dedicated to creating a positive change and inspiring other women through exceptional displays of leadership by rising against all odds. Now, I do believe that our awardees will be joining us, but I'm going to request them to please stay backstage with us, and also please stay with us till the end of the program, because we're going to have a wonderful Kodak moment and a very special thank you message for our awardees. So I'm going to request them to please stay with us backstage till the end of the program. Meanwhile, I'm going to urge all the members of the audience to please tag us in lovely winning shots of your peer members, of your colleagues, or for that matter, our awardees over here. So please do that. Once again, let me remind you, our social media handles are @RP Plus on Facebook, @RP Plus on Twitter, and RP_Realty on Instagram. With that, it's time to invite on the main screen Mr. O'Neill Pinto, Senior Business Director, EMEAI Temprite, to join us to present the awards. Now, he's a business leader who comes with more than 24 years of cross-functional experience, creating value and delivering results in new and complex business environments. At Lubrizol, he drives the Win in India program and refines growth strategies to strengthen the market leadership position in EMEAI. So let me please invite on the main screen none other than Mr. Pinto, and a warm welcome to you, sir, and over to you. Thank you, Kavya. This is indeed a pleasure to kind of be in this forum. And as I stand before you on this very special occasion, I feel immense happiness that we are making progress and women are getting the respect they deserve. More than a decade from today, International Women's Day wasn't celebrated as much and on such a big scale in our country. We have made significant progress since then, and people across industries understand the importance of observing and celebrating Women's Day. As we all know, the campaign theme of International Women's Day 2022 is Break the Bias. As humans, there is a tendency to be biased in all aspects of our life, and women in particular tend to be the recipients of such unwarranted bias. I'm of the strong opinion that differences are precious. Expressing your own individuality should be respected in all terms, no matter what. Let's together build a free world, free of bias, that helps us reach high levels of a diverse and equal world. We need to support each other to create a memorable story and reach new heights together beyond the bias. Collectively, we can break the bias. I feel so privileged to be part of this wonderful platform and thank each one of the awardees for their exemplary contribution in their respective field. Congratulations and the very best to each one of you. Thank you very much, Mr. Pinto. In fact, the way you shared your words so passionately, and I think this is the time to actually go ahead and break the bias, all that's there, how women are breaking that glass ceiling. It's time to also break those stereotypes and the bias. And what a better way to do than celebrate such amazing women right here today. And I think this has got us all excited for the March 8th. So it's like a nice precursor to what's about to happen on March 8th. So ladies and gentlemen, and all our dear attendees, let's all get excited because it's time to move forward to the much awaited segment of the evening. It's time to present the Women of Vision Awards. And now it's time to present our first awardee. But while we do so, I'm going to also be requesting Mr. Pinto to please stay with us for the awards presentation. And with that, let's now present our recipients of the Women of Vision Awards 2022, welcoming them in an alphabetical order. So let's take a look at the very first awardee.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we present to you the winners of Lubrizol presents Women of Vision Awards organized by Realty Plus Masterclass. These awards are to celebrate women's achievements in the building material industry for their contributions. Join in celebrating women's achievement and a vision that empowers the nation. Come together in celebrating women of today to connect, celebrate, commemorate the success of women in the building material industry. Our first awardee is a tall woman leader in the real estate with 27 years of experience, providing strategic design direction and helping deliver projects with a clear alignment of sustainability with business goals. And the award goes to Dr. Ananya Gandotra, Head of Design, Engineering and Sustainability, Birla Estates Private Limited.
Absolutely amazing indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Ananya Gandotra provides strategic design direction and helps deliver projects with clear alignment of sustainability and business goals. She's also worked with global consultants like Foster and partners Zaha Hadid, Lera, Sasaki, VAPG, Bureau Happold, BPI, Belt Collins, and Cooper Hill. So if I may request Mr. Pinto to please do the honors.
My pleasure. Congratulations, Dr. Gandotra, really impressive. Can you please share some words for the young women out there on thinking differently in this male-dominated world of construction?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Pinto and Kavya. So at the behest, I would like to thank you for felicitating me for the Women of Vision Award. And I'm happy that the Realty Plus could bring out the vision in the Women's Award. It's critical for the women to have a vision. And in order to make this vision a reality, it is extremely important for women to self-help themselves. In my opinion, in order to improve the diversity and inclusion in their workplaces. And the three critical components to my mind is they should have motivation, and that would drive them through the tough times, and commitment to say to their team, I'm in, and determination to say, we'll do it to the boss. So with these three ingredients, one of the foremost one which I feel is the natural caregiving that the women have, and thereby empathy can be one of the topmost strengths for women to achieve their success. And therefore, in this International Women's Day 2022, I would like the women to pledge that they would have self-pride, they would have pride in their work, and they would have belief in themselves. And last but not the least, be thankful for people who have believed them throughout their journey. So thank you for Realty Plus, for honoring me with this award. I'm really feeling privileged. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Pinto.
Very well said, ma'am. Congratulations once again.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations indeed, ma'am. And I'm going to also request you to please stay with us backstage because you will be joining all the awardees this evening for a beautiful Kodak moment. I also believe that all our attendees who are joining in will truly resonate with the ingredients that you've shared. It's a perfect recipe for success. So congratulations on that note. And with that, let's move on quickly to also find out the next awardee for the evening. Let's take a look at the video.
Our next award is awarded to a young woman who has taken the road less traveled. A young changemaker, she is trying hard to build a world where ecology and economy work hand in hand. She leads a team of waterpreneurs who have prevented over 10 million liters of water from being wasted. And the award goes to Garvita Gulhati, Water Girl of India, founder and CEO, Waterpreneur. Why Waste? India's largest youth-led movement for water conservation.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Garvita Gulhati, a young change maker. She's trying to build a world where ecology and economy work in tandem. She leads the youth organization and team of waterpreneurs that have prevented over 10 million liters of water from being wasted and have impacted over 6 million lives. Bhai, ye to garv ki baat hai, as they say it. And I'd like to also request Mr. Pinto to please do the honors.
Well, impressive once again, Ms. Gulhati. This is really good. This is really special. And may I request you to say a few words, especially for young aspiring women entrepreneurs?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for this incredible honor. It really means a lot. Thank you for recognizing the work of a young change maker. I think one of the largest struggles that youth face is not being taken seriously, and to be recognized at such a platform is a testimony. So kudos to you all for being so kind and so willing to not just recognize me, but the work of young change makers at large. I'm really, really grateful to everyone who was involved in making this happen. And to all of the young people who want to make a difference out there, all I'd like to say is that every idea matters, no matter how small or large it may be, and your voice matters. In a world of constant change, we are now in the constant need of change makers. And no matter what you choose to do in life, no matter who you choose to be, you can still impact and you can still make a difference. So find that small thing that you want to change and start working towards it, because the world needs you. Once again, thank you all so much. I'm truly, truly grateful for this incredible recognition.
Congratulations, Garvita. Way to go.
Congratulations, Garvita. I think that's absolutely inspiring what you're doing. One drop at a time, if I may put it that way, but it's absolutely inspiring. Kudos to you. And I'm going to request you to please stay with us backstage. As I'd mentioned, we're going to have a Kodak moment towards the end of the program with all the awardees. Ladies and gentlemen, what an inspiring story indeed. And it's amazing, as Garvita says, if we are in need for constant change, then we are definitely in need for constant change makers. On that note, it's also time to move forward and find out our next awardee. So let's take a look at the AV.
Our next award is presented to a woman who leads one of the oldest fire protection companies in Eastern India. She has been an active member of the Society of Fire Protection Engineers, USA, and continues to remain a member of the FSAI Core Committee of Kolkata chapter from its inception. And the award goes to Koeli Dutt, a woman with a vision, MD, Technico India, National Chairperson, Surakshit Nari Program, FSAI, Fire Safety.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Ms. Koeli Dutt leads one of the oldest fire protection companies in Eastern India, and she's been an active member of the Society of Fire Protection Engineers USA. She continues to remain a member of the FSAI core committee of the Kolkata chapter from its inception and is also an active member of the FSAI. I'd like to request Mr. O'Neill Pinto to please do the honors, sir.
Well done, Ms. Dutt, and if you may please share some inspiring moments from your own journey of facing these challenges and succeeding against all odds. We'd love to hear that.
Thank you, Mr. Pinto and Kavya. I'm truly honored to be here today, and thank you very much to the organizers, Lubrizol and Reality Plus, for dedicating this day and actually recognizing all the women out there who are indeed making a difference. I've been in this industry for over 2 decades now. When I joined, I think we could count the number of women of one hand maybe in this industry. Construction has seen a sea change, and now I'm very happy to note that wherever I go, every company I come across has at least a few, if not several, women to boast of. And it is a great pleasure to see that kind of growth, this coming forward of women. When I initially started working, I think every conversation with a client would begin by a question, are you from a technical background? So that has changed. Now people don't bat an eyelid. I mean, you walk in, it is not assumed that you come only in one of those stereotypical roles of, reception or HR or something, but you are actually there to contribute and make a difference to the core areas of the industry. And it is very, I actually do not believe in one day to celebrate women, but I feel this inequality that has been coming over the ages, until we actually wipe that out, this recognition of one day where we actually meaningfully talk about the women and their achievements, I think it does make a difference into that. And you are contributing wonderfully well to recognize us, our efforts, and possibly inspire the next generation of women. Thank you so much.
Very inspiring, Ms. Dutt, really. Thank you, and congratulations once again.
Congratulations, Ms. Dutt, and absolutely, that's what I think people are talking about, that it's time to break that bias, break that stereotypes that women can only fit into a particular type of roles, and it's people and women, for that matter, like Koeli, who make us all believe that women can do it all, be whoever they wish to be. On that beautiful note, on that feisty note, let's actually move forward to also announcing our next award winner, and let's take a look at the AP.
The next award is presented to an eminent woman leader who is an experienced principal consultant and is skilled in plumbing and firefighting services. She graduated from RV School of Engineering and IIM Bangalore and set up a micro-enterprise with a team of engineers who are committed. And the award goes to Manjula Thawarkere, a businesswoman, Managing Director, Adithi MEP Consultants Private Limited.
Ladies and gentlemen, Manjula Thawarkere is an experienced principal consultant with a demonstrated history of working in the MEP consultancy firm and skilled in plumbing and firefighting designs. She graduated from RV School of Engineering and IIM Bangalore and set up a micro-enterprise with a committed team of engineers. That truly, truly calls for an applause, and I'd like to request Mr. Pinto to please do the honors.
Oh, this is really good and interesting. Ms. Tawarkere, what inspired you to create an organization and how did you go about building this?
Yeah, good evening all, and it's been a privilege that I'm being part of this wonderful session with all my colleagues, women colleagues who have actively achieved so many things in their own fields. So coming to your point, the challenges were quite tough because I basically come from a very rural background and coming to a city like Bangalore and then starting up my career in the civil engineering field. At that time, about 25 years, it was very, very tough. So I had my own challenges. Every day was to be, I mean, the challenges used to be like on a day-to-day basis. So it's like over the period of time and with experience and with the situations that we have faced. And I think the turning point was the Women Entrepreneurial Program that I did at IIM, which gave me the confidence that yes, I can start a micro enterprise of my own, and I can lead and be inspiration to many of my fellow women engineers too. So I think that was the turning point for me.
Excellent. This is so inspirational, ma'am. And congratulations once again.
Thank you. Congratulations, ma'am, and absolutely inspiring indeed. It's so wonderful to hear such endearing stories as well. And while we request you to also remain with us backstage so that all the awardees can join together for a Kodak moment towards the end of the program. But mighty congratulations, ma'am. All right. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, on that very, very beautiful note, let's also move forward to finding out our next award winner. And let's take a look at the AV.
We now move on to our next awardee, who's a veteran woman architect and is known for the use of low-energy materials and technologies. She has designed and constructed numerous reputed projects in India and abroad. And the award goes to Architect Neelam Manjunath, Principal Architect, Manasaram Architects.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, she's an architect, planner, activist, and theoretician. Having started her private practice in 1991, she has designed and constructed numerous reputed projects in India and abroad. Her buildings are an epitome of simple and direct solutions to problems concerning the general function of the building, accompanying sympathy towards the immediate environment. To do the honors, may I please request Mr. Pinto to please go ahead and share your question, sir.
Thanks a lot, Ms. Manjunath, and really appreciate what you do. Could you please share with us your views on women power and the value additions they can bring to the industry? We'd be happy to hear that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Am I audible? Am I audible? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pinto, and thank you, Lubrizol and the Reality Press for giving this honor. I'm extremely humbled, and it's very nice to be. Actually, reality sector is something which I have been generally trying to little move away from. But like as women, it's supposed to be really tough little. But as an architect, yes, I had to take this on, and I have been running a practice since 1991 actually. And I also took the tough decision, not decision actually, it was something which came very easy for me, that I wanted to do simple buildings, what we call as simple buildings with the 5 elements. When you design, they actually are supposed to be taking care of not just the physical needs in terms of space, it's supposed to take care of your psychological needs and the spiritual needs. And when we talk about simplicity, it doesn't mean that it has to be dressed down to something like that. Simplicity actually means
sustainability, because somebody who is simple is also sustainable by default, and it also leads to spirituality, which I think after COVID, we all know that we need these kind of spaces. So there was mud and bamboo and these kind of materials which I took on, and I thought that these are the best materials to give a good, ambience. And it has been very tough, starting from almost like a 10 lakh square feet. When I actually started my practice, it came down to some 1,000 square feet. People thought that I was only doing bamboo pergolas and balconies, and I cannot do bigger buildings anymore. But slowly, and people, it has come at calling me a bamboo architect or a bamboo lady or some other lady. Now slowly it has come back to where again this thing is got recognized. I mean, I would rather say that my awards, which I take it, is more like I have a responsibility towards the society, much more than what I had before. And that's what I would take this award, which is given to me, Women of Vision. I would like to live up to this expectation further from where I am today in future. And thank you so much.
So well deserved, ma'am, and congratulations once again.
Congratulations, ma'am. And I think that beautiful keyword for me is the word responsibility that you have associated with every numerous win that you've achieved so far. But thank you so much, ma'am, and congratulations to you once again. I'm going to request you to please join our awardees backstage as well, so that we'll have a beautiful group photograph towards the end of the program. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's also time to march ahead and announce the next award winner. Let's take a look at the AV, please.
Our next awardee of the day is a woman having a zeal of breaking stereotypes. She comes with a vision that if women can fly aeroplanes, why can they work in plumbing? The award goes to Rinki Mahato, gold medalist, plumbing and heating.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rinki Mahato participated at the India Skills Regional Competition North, held by Water Management and Plumbing Skill Council, and amongst 8 other competitors, all male. Against all odds, she stood first and gained a spot to compete at the national level skill competition, India Skills 2021. She became the first female to ever reach the regional level competition for plumbing and heating competitions, and she proved her mettle and skills by winning the regionals. If women can fly airplanes, why can't they work in plumbing? That's what she says. Well, on that note, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Pinto. Over to you, sir.
So very impressive, Rinki. This is fantastic. Rinki, on that note, what would be your message to young girls who would like to join the plumbing industry? I'll be keen to hear your thoughts on that.
Firstly, thank you. It's an honor for me to receive this award. Thank you, Lubrizol and Reality Plus, for giving me this award. And I want to thank the WMPSC and NSDC Skill Ministry for giving me such an opportunity and training for this skill. Plumbing sector has been predominantly male dominated. Hardly any women are there in this sector. But from my experience, I can say that this sector is very supportive. Like, only we need to come forward and take the opportunities to come in this sector and choose this sector as a career. And I want to convey a message to a young girl that plumbing work is not less than an engineering work. I'm a civil engineer also, so I know it's not less than an engineering work also. So we must come forward, take these opportunities, and we must break the mold and create a new way of thinking about women in this trade, and start this cycle. And I'm happy to share that I'm a part of WMPSC core competition team as an ambassador. And because of my good performance in India Skill, now I'm preparing for the selection process of World Skill 2022 for Shanghai, along with the 2 competitors. After the selection process, one of the competitors will go and represent our country. And now my goal is to
represent my country as well as women in Shanghai 2022. And once again, thank you so much.
Wow, Rinki, these are super achievements and so very impressed with what you do. So best wishes to you in all you do. Go stronger, go higher, keep our country high, keep our country's flag high. Congratulations once again, Rinki.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Congratulations, Rinki. In fact, all the best because can't wait to see you India shine. And I love what you shared about the fact that plumbing is no less than engineering. In fact, it's absolutely as skilled as engineering. So kudos to you and thank you for inspiring us all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I must admit, I just can't stop smiling wide. It's because of such amazing achievers. I mean, just to be in the august presence of such amazing work that they do, such ideas that come out, I think it just makes us want to level up. That's the kind of achievers that we're talking about. On that note, let's now move forward to our final award winner for the evening. Let's take a look at the AV.
Last but not the least, we now welcome a social entrepreneur and a change maker. She is a globally experienced fashion apparel retail buying and merchandising professional. She has catered to brands like Armani, Marlboro Clothing and other brands. And the award goes to Rupali Kelshikar, a change maker, co-founder, head of commerce, Wulu.
Huge congratulations indeed. A globally experienced fashion apparel retail buying and merchandising professional, Rupali has catered to brands such as Armani, Miss 60, Guess, Marlboro Clothing, Diesel, and Rupali co-founded DSGN Inc. and heads all the business development and operations of Wulu, a revolutionary app that increases women's access to safe public toilets. The app has been recognized and supported by International Association of Plumbing and Mechanical Officials, India. Absolutely amazing indeed. I'm going to request Mr. Pinto to please do the honors. Congratulations, Ms. Kelshikar. Very good.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We'd love to hear about your mission to provide hygiene dignity to women in India. If you could share some thoughts on that.
So I, with more than 20 years of experience in corporate life, I realized that we all women, we have always suffered and, because of poor hygiene access when we step out of our home. And this has always been a concern for me because I feel that so many women were so talented and they have to drop out of corporate, maybe in schools, colleges also. And so after that, and because I wanted next generation, like young Kartika and Rinki, to excel in their fields, okay, and nothing should restrict them because of poor hygiene. So we now, and with my daughter who is also becoming an architect, I know that I wanted to make this change for this generation and coming forward, all future generations. That's how we started off with Wulu, which is fintech. So we use a lot of technology to ensure women's hygiene dignity, and currently in Mumbai with more than 1,000 plus Wulu facilities and influence. I mean, we have almost 23,000 women who are using the facilities in our that there are more things which we are doing, and of course we are looking forward to Pan India and also globally. So I will use this platform to appeal every professional here to kind of, because they are also inspiring in their own domain, but I would like them to also pledge to be, join our mission at Wulu and to so that we can work together and take it ahead faster, not just in India but also overseas. So thank you, Lubrizol and Mr. Neil Pinto, Kavya, and also I would say, sorry, that, but the entire team of DLT Plus, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Really appreciate what you do. Congratulations once again.
Thank you very much, Rupali, and congratulations on what you're doing, because so many women might just sit up and think that, this needs to be tackled, this hygiene issue needs to be tackled. We might only sit and think, but you're actually out there doing it. So I think that really is an achievement in itself. Thank you so much for that. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, while we did announce all our amazing, amazing award winners right over here, let me actually inform you all that it's time for all our award recipients to please come on the main screen to have a group photograph with Mr. O'Neill Pinto. And if I may also request Ms. Sapna Srivastava to please join us all here on the main screen. We're going to take a nice group picture and keep the memories alive of this fantastic felicitation ceremony of our women achievers. So I'm going to request all the women achievers to come back again on the main screen. Keep your videos on. You can keep yourself on mute, sorry. That wouldn't be a problem, but keep your videos on and we're going to capture that. I'm going to request Sapna. Yes, Sapna is also here with us. Is everybody in? Looks like everyone's in. Perfect. So looks like we're all set for a Kodak moment. Now we are joining in a virtual avatar, which means we're going to have a beautiful screenshot. That's a plan as of now. So let's all smile. Let's all smile in the countdown of 3, 2, 1. All right, Sapna, I believe we managed to get that screenshot. We managed to get that captured. All the lovely award winners. I'm guessing.
As we speak, our backend team is taking the screenshots of the lovely winners out there. It's such a pleasure and honor to be hosting these, the veterans of the industry, from Ms. Neela Manjunath and Ananya Gandotra to the young guns, Rinki and Garvita. It's such a pleasant to see, where women are reaching. The veterans have opened the ways for the young girls, and the young girls are taking it forward into a completely new direction. So fantastic to see all our women achievers today here.
Lovely, lovely indeed. Once again, mighty, mighty congratulations. Let's all actually say big round of cheers to these amazing achievers who are showing the way, knowing the way, and going the way for all of us. And I hope all of you are also going ahead and tagging us all in those lovely winning shots. Our social media handles being at the rate RP Realty Plus on Facebook and Twitter, RP_Realty on Instagram. Thank you once again, dear winners, for joining us this evening. And thank you for as you continue to inspire us all each and every day.
Thank you, everyone, and all the best to everyone.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that, while let me tell you that I'm actually having goosebumps over here, just hearing all the different stories, the kind of contributions, and it's amazing to hear such stories coming out, such riveting stories coming out. So while I thank our winners for being part of the wonderful evening, while we come to the fantastic closing of the Lubrizol CPVC Presents Women of Vision Summit and Awards, organized by Realty Plus Masterclass in association with FlowGuard Plus and Blaze Master. Once again, congratulations to all the winners who make India proud with their dedication and their performance. But as they say, it's not over until it's over, because I now invite Mr. Manish Jain, the segment manager, Plumbing and Fire, South Asia, Lubrizol Advanced Materials, to please also join us here to present the vote of thanks. In fact, he has been serving the building industry for over 28 years and has also introduced new technologies, starting from construction chemicals to CPVC piping. So if I may please request Mr. Manish to present the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Kavya. And good evening, everyone. It has been such an honor to be a part of this wonderful event. On behalf of Lubrizol, I'd like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed and eminent speakers of both the panels on sustainability and rethinking building design. Your insights on the subject have really enlightened us and given us great thought for action. And I believe that each one of us who would start moving in the right direction for creating a safer and a sustainable planet. Thank you to the panelists. I also extend my gratitude to the audience who have taken out time, and their gracious presence has motivated us and made our event successful. Moving ahead, congratulations to the winners of the Women of Vision 2022. And, it's really motivating to see such achievements. And I think so you all act as great motivators for the other women to move forward. Last but not the least, the entire team of Reality Plus and Lubrizol who have collaborated, conceptualized, and executed this program to perfection. To conclude, we at Lubrizol are committed to innovation, sustainability, and making our customers more successful. So if you have issues on product front, we are there. We are there to hear you. We would address your issues and help you in becoming more successful. Finally, I would like to thank all of you present here for making the time and making this event successful. Thank you all and a good day. Thank you, Kavya. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Manish, for sharing your words as well. And like you rightly said, it's indeed an evening of celebrations of such amazing achievements. And on that note, let me also quickly invite on the main screen Sapna Srivastava to also present a thank you note on behalf of Realty Plus.
Thanks, Mr. Jain, for joining us and expressing your appreciation for the entire event that has happened, that concluded today. Thanks, Mr. O'Neill Pinto, for joining us earlier, presenting the awards on behalf of Lubrizol and Realty Plus, and Mr. Binay Agarwal for so motivatingly opening this entire event of today, which is the Lubrizol Presents Women of Vision Awards 2022. So our sincere gratitude to all the award recipients as well for being here with us and sharing their time. I also thank all our expert speakers of the day earlier today for those very knowledge enhancing sessions that we had, and for making this edition of Women of Vision Summit 2022 so informative, interesting, and not to mention thought-provoking. A big thanks to the awesome audience as well for being here with us today and sharing their queries. We were not able to take a lot of questions because of the paucity of time, but definitely we are going to take them offline with our speakers. Let me also thank the Lubrizol Corporation for presenting this Women of Vision E-Summit and Awards 2022 to mark the International Women's Day this year. Last but not the least, as Mr. Manish Jain also said, a big thank you to the team Realty Plus and Lubrizol for putting this show together, and to our lovely host Kavya as well for making this event so exciting and captivating. So thank you everyone for being part of this entire exciting event that we had today. Kavya, back to you now.
Thank you very much, Sapna. I must admit that it's truly my delight to actually be a part of an evening such as this, just completely brimming with inspiration. And I'd like to thank everyone once again for taking the time to be connected with us today, because your participation and presence truly, truly made this evening memorable. I do hope everyone has participated in the hashtag Lubrizol WOV 2022 challenge, because the 3 lucky winners will be announced on Lubrizol CPVC LinkedIn page. So fingers crossed. And with that, on that beautiful note, I'm going to wish you all great health and well-being. And we look forward to seeing you all really soon, and hopefully have the delightful opportunity of connecting in person as well. So thank you very much and have a beautiful, beautiful evening ahead.
Thank you.